Imagine a hero shooter where the hero never showed. Imagine a game with a player base that just refused to grow. A 5v5 hero shooter with gameplay that's just okay. And characters that remind me of Tupperware and white bread. No, I'm not talking about Overwatch. Please stop bringing up Overwatch. This game is not Overwatch. It's actually something else. Imagine a game with a story that no one watches. A game that costs $40 that Sony totally botches. It has all my favorite characters, like Lemmy, Dawn, and Craig. At least, I think that's what their names are. I never bothered to check. Concord like the grave. Your legacy is safe as a game that no one played, and a price that no one paid. Boopa-doop-ba, deep-a-doop-da, scoop-a-boop-ba, beep-beep-beep-beep-beep, phlegm. Concord was about as good as accidentally peeing on your own leg. Concord, we're here to lay you to rest. We know you tried your best. You copied so much cool stuff just to turn out lame in the end. I'll never forget my favorite moments, like when Hot Sauce Guy jumped. Remember when he jumped? That was really cool. A rat just ran by on my desk, and even the rat didn't want to play Concord, even though I blessed him with the chance. The $40 he could afford, but the rat just stared on in a trance. Rat, 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 rat. Concord's dead. Rat, 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 rat. Concord's dead. The Costco guys made more money than you. They were just on Jimmy Fallon too. Imagine Lennox being on Jimmy Fallon, because I literally can't. The rat on my desk is eating all my Cheerios and grapes. And also Concord is dead. Concord like the grave. Your legacy is safe as a game that no one played, and a price that no one paid. Rat-a-ta-ta-beep-a-da, boop. Skim, milk, the rat fleet, doo-da, doo-da. A guy said he really liked it, and then a bunch of rats ate his face. That's the sound he made when Concord passed away. I wish things turned out different, but either way I'm getting paid. Concord's dead, Concord's dead, and boy is my face red. When the game came out, everybody overslept. Concord's dead, Concord's dead. Holy crap, Lois, Concord's dead. When the game out, people played everything else instead.
Good morning, everyone.
Shout out to the chess club.
Welcome, welcome. It's true. Concord is, in fact, dead. But we are not. And we are here. And you know what we're doing?
I'm vibing.
We're vibing. Damn it. How's everybody doing? Everybody going? Feeling good? Feeling lively? We got some stuff to talk about. Shocker, I know. Everything from our Lord and Savior, the one and only Lord and Savior, him, Todd Howard, mentioning whether they could have changed the perception of shattered space by doing one big key thing differently. We'll talk about that. To the flip side, which is, of course, nominees for the Game Awards. And I have some strong thoughts about all this. I mean, we'll talk about this stuff. We'll go through it. But yeah, some solid stuff to talk about. But how are you guys? What's everybody playing right now? I want to know, because we're in kind of a weird lull right now in the industry, you know, a little lull. I actually have a surprising number of friends who are going back to Baldur's Gate 3. Kind of weird, little random, but a lot of people going back. Slitterhead, it's cool as fudge. Yeah, that game kind of came out and then disappeared. It was kind of weird how it just it like disappeared into the ether. Metaphor Veilguard, yeah, Metaphor. Oh, I was talking to my buddy Corey last night, and he was like, I'm at the very end of Metaphor, but I don't want to like start the final thing because that means it'll be over. And I was like, I relate to that so much. You guys do that too, where you reach the end of a game and you're like, I don't want to say goodbye. So you just leave it. Anybody else like that? I'm like that. It's a problem, you know, where I'm like, I just don't want to do it. I just don't want to see the end of it. I want to leave it open-ended. I was talking a like acquaintance I met at like a family gathering, like a friend of one of the family members. He was there and it was very nice. He happened to be like a fan and had seen some stuff. And he was talking to me. He was like, The Witcher 3, I have something insane, like 500 something hours, and I've never rolled the credits. He's like, I just don't want it to be over. I never want to like hit that ending point. I was like, I don't even know how you do that. Because even Blood and Wine sort of has its own credits. So if you're doing the expansions too, but I think a lot of people are like that. Baldur's Gate 3, Witcher 3, Dead Space remake. Ooh, 'tis the season. You know, even after Halloween, I think it's okay to do spoopy stuff. Remnant 2 and DLCs. Ooh, there's a lot of content there for sure. Divinity Original Sin 2. Oh, that's a good one to go back to. I think it was maybe Lawrence or one of those guys on Insider Gaming. Used to be The Know. I remember hearing them talk about that Divinity Original Sin 2 years ago. And they called it, again, I think it was them. I can't remember who specifically said it, but one of them said, like, Divinity Original Sin 2 is the best game no one's ever finished. Because I think a lot of people start it and they get like 30-40% in and they're like, I love this. And for whatever reason, they just never cross the finish line. I've seen a lot of people that don't ever really get to the end. It's kind of weird. Rogue Trader. Ooh, yeah. Patches have made it a lot better. At launch, it was pretty good, but kind of buggy, especially later. But yeah, they've definitely done a lot of work. Going back through Kingdom Come Deliverance, that's a good one. Preparing, I see. Good on you. Catching up on Animal Well. Yeah, I got to play Animal Well. I got to play Bellatro. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I got to play that. And I want to finish Metaphor, but I'm like my buddy Corey. I don't want to roll credits. I'm like, I'm scared. Jacob's playing Half-Life. Oh, that's a good one. Ragnarok. PC or PS5 or PS4. No judgment. Because it's on all of that. Veilguard, Black Ops 6. Gonna talk about the Stalker 2 Q&A. If there's enough to go through on that. Thank you, Rango, for the 2. I just honestly don't know if there's like enough meat on the bone with the Q&A specifically. Because a lot of the people that are interested in that game are already like locked in. So if they're interested in the Q&A, they'll go watch the Q&A, you know. They don't need to hear my dumbass talk about it. Early copy of Stalker 2 leaked. Is anyone else like weirded out that like we're what 2 days away and there still are not like reviews? I haven't heard anybody say that they're even reviewing it. Has anybody said they're reviewing it? I don't know. There was also an update on Star Wars Outlaws about the changes. Ooh. Oofala. Ooh. Let's see. Ooh, baby, indeed. Indeed, quite. Radio silent. Yeah, I don't. Maybe it's just early access. Maybe it's something else. But man, the review process this year has been really weird. Really, really weird. And I don't know why. I mean, I do know why. I think it's because a lot of these companies are terrified that they're going to get bad scores from reviewers, and that's going to just tank their performance. Because a lot of companies have realized that people are looking at Metacritic to decide whether they're going to try something, even if that's not the best indicator of quality. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just not interested. Am I doing a review of Stalker 2? No. We sent an email or two, and my management might have sent even more, but we reached out a couple times, but again, just like nothing. So I don't even know if they're sending out review codes. Like, I really don't know. Did you ever play Greedfall? I started the first one a little bit, and I remember thinking it was actually kind of interesting. It was a cool like AA RPG, but I never like put a ton of time into it. Ghosting like with Dragon Age. Dragon Age was different because Dragon Age, they told us we would get review codes, and they're like, we'll be in touch soon, and then they just didn't get in touch soon. It was weird. Like, and then we would send follow-up messages. And then they'd be like, oh, we ran out of review codes to send out. But don't worry, we'll send you an early access code the day before launch so you can still get launch day content made. And then they ghosted us again after that. So I think that there's something funky that went on in the background. I really do believe that. There was something about that whole Dragon Age process that was not... I think that the lower level people at EA were not necessarily happy with how EA handled that. Because they were telling creators, we'll be in touch. And they just never were. It was weird. But, okay, it's Purga. No, I'm not reacted to the nominations. Let's do it. Shiro, hello, I'm Shiro, and I have a candle addiction. Is this the right place? Welcome, my friend. Welcome. I'm just going to move my arm like that to cover up. I don't have a problem. Shut up. Because you can see lots down there. Oh, man. I did have a meeting with somebody to discuss potentially doing our own line of candles. It's tricky. Like, it would not be a profitable... Well, I mean, it would be profitable, but it would not be like a money-making venture. Because even like with pretty decent margins, making like $3-4 over just raw cost on each candle, you'd have to sell like thousands and thousands and thousands to pay for this like company's fee. And it's like, do I really think we're selling 15,000 candles? Probably not. I mean, yeah, I might be able to make up half of that, but let's be honest. New electronic scent. Oh, dude, that would be great. See, I want to do it. The other thing is, though, I don't know if it's okay to... I mean, it's probably not. If I have to ask that question, it's probably not okay. But, like, I'm curious... Like, I probably couldn't do just a straight Todd Howard candle with his picture on it, because that's weird. So I'd have to do something like... I don't know. I'd have to do something where it's like... the liar candle, and then it's just like a silhouetted picture or something that heavily implies it's Todd, you know. I'll have to do that. Do a collab with a candle company. Yeah, I think we'd have to do something like that, not go totally from scratch. If you were a candle, what's your scent? Well, so I like different cologne scents than I like candle scents. So like cologne wise, I like the sandalwoods. I like something a little fresher, a little lighter, you know. But with candles, I like it to feel like I'm inside a medieval tavern. Like I want it to feel like cinnamon and apples. That's what I want. So my candle would be different than like my scent. You know what's up. Okay, should we talk about this? Should I stop delaying? Okay. News segment. Reach out to Supercar Limbros to see if they have any resources and connections for candle stuff. Ooh, good idea. I will pull that up in another tab, and I will try that. I also, there's a really, really like high-end chocolate whatever they call them, chocolatier store. I don't know. Here in like Old Town, Fort Collins. And they make really, really good stuff. Really high quality, like roasted chocolate bars, truffles, stuff like that. But they're stupid expensive. And I'm like, if they're stupid expensive for the public, yeah, margins are probably pretty good. But again, like, I don't want to do the Pokimane thing where it's like, hello, guys, I'm launching a new thing. It's $65 for a small bag of whatever cookies. Like, I don't want to do that. So American chocolate's so bad. That's why, like, these people are from whatever, is it Switzerland or Belgium or something? I think they're Belgian. It's like people that actually know what they're doing that just happen to live here and make it here. It's really, really good, but it's also expensive like it is, you know. If you're a brokey, just say so. Oh, man. Am I hyped for this Tellerblade DLC? So hype. You don't even know. So hype. That's all I can think about. Okay. Also, thank you, Joe Mitchell, for the membership. Thank you, my friend. Welcome, welcome. Are you guys ready? New segment. Let's talk about Jeff, the king of Doritos. Okay, everybody. It's time. It's time. The king has spoken. Indeed. Indeed. The patron saint of Doritos, the Dorito Pope himself. He has come forward. Thank you, Lonely Fates, for the membership. He's come forward and announced the nominees for the Game Awards this year.
Is now a member.
And what's interesting about this is, of course, he already discussed something a few days ago that was interesting. He made this like preemptive post that didn't go over too well. Let me see if I can find it. Jeez, all of the pay attention Monday, all those things are going up. But basically what he did is he made a post where he announced that he was going to include DLC and expansions on the Game of the Year contender list, on other awards list, and things like that. So, elephant in the room, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Air Tree can be nominated for Game of the Year, can be nominated for Best Music, Best Action Game, Best blah, 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 everything. And historically, like remakes and remasters could probably get nominated for like secondary tiers, but them like winning Game of the Year was a pale too far. Remakes, I think they still nominated stuff, but as for DLC and expansions, those were usually out and not allowed. That's different now. Now they're included. And it was kind of weird because he made this post a few days ago in like anticipation of the nomination reveals, which tells me that they made the decision that we're going to include Shadow of the Air Tree and we need to give people a heads up, otherwise they're going to freak out. So he made that post and put it out there. My stance before we get into the specific nominations and stuff is that if we break it up into the possible way that this can go, we have, of course, you know what I have to do. We have like DLC / expansions. Okay, so this is like Shadow of the Air Tree. Let's just say that. Okay, and then we have remasters, remaster, and that's there, and then remakes. In my view, Game of the Year requires it to be a game, like a standalone game, which in my view, DLC are not, because they are downloadable content for another game, for the actual big game. So Shadow of the Air Tree being nominated for Game of the Year doesn't really make sense to me because it's not its own game. People say, well, it could have been, it's big enough that it could have been, but I'm like, but it's not though. It would be different if it were, just like Phantom Liberty. It would be different if it were its own release, but because it's literally a piece of content that attaches to another game, giving it Game of the Year just doesn't make sense in my brain. So in my view, I don't think these should qualify for Game of the Year. And then we get to remasters and remakes, okay? Remasters, effectively, you're kind of like polishing a game that was made by somebody else years ago, presumably years and years ago. And, you know, remasters don't require tons of original work being done, like new models, new textures, new voice acting. Remasters are just kind of polishing it up. So remasters of games from years old does not make sense to me to be nominated for Game of the Year because it's not from this year. It's a reworking of something from another year. So this also just doesn't make any damn sense. The one of these I could be compelled to consider are remakes, because remakes are sometimes very transformative, okay? The best example that I can think of is the Mafia Definitive Edition remake. Definitive Edition versus original. Here we go. This is just about as clear-cut an argument for it being like a candidate for remakes being a candidate for nomination as anything. Because what you see on the left versus the right, the game on the right is just different. It's a total new thing. Nothing on the left was preserved. Everything on the right had to be done by scratch. And for that, I can understand why somebody is like, this qualifies. Another really solid one that I see people mention in chat, which I think is also fair, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, where that, it's like, yeah, it's technically following the same story as the original, but even then it's different. But it's a totally different game. It's totally different. So remakes, I'm of the mind that if it's transformative like this, or like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I do think that that should qualify, because that is transformative. It's effectively a new work as far as I'm concerned. It's something different. You know, it really has been transformed in a major, massive way. So there's that. On the flip side, there's other remakes that really are kind of stretching the term. The Last of Us Part 1 remake, where I understand they redid assets, they redid models and stuff. They redid a lot of that stuff. But it was not really transformative at all. And so for me, that didn't feel like it would qualify for this type of treatment, being nominated for anything like this. But that's true of any reworking. You know, you can be like, well, some examples are really good, some are really bad. So I am of the mind that remakes, because of these extreme examples of like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Mafia Definitive Edition and other games like that, I do think that this is a compelling argument. I still don't love it, because I would like there to be like encouragement for totally original games. Otherwise, like, you'll just see every company trying to remake the most beloved games of like every year. You know, I don't love that strategy. But I think there's a compelling argument for remakes being included, especially when you look at some of these. So recap, DLC, they're not standalone games. I don't see why that could win Game of the Year when it's not really its own game. Remasters are just reworkings of things from years past. So I don't understand why that would get nominated. And remakes, I do think you could justify if they're truly transformative, like Final Fantasy VII, like Mafia Definitive Edition, games like that. Okay, so now that I've put all that out there, I've not looked, other than the tweet I saw that had the Game of the Year nominees on it. I've not looked at the full categories, so I don't really know what to expect. I know we've been memeing a lot. We've been joking about there being like, you know, them giving everything to Veilguard and all of that. I don't think they'll do that, because again, Veilguard was very polarizing, but I'm ready. I think there's going to be a lot more indie nominations than big AAA stuff. That's kind of my feeling, is that there's going to be a lot of nominations from like Animal Well, Balatro, stuff like that. That's my guess. I swear to God, if Dustborn's on this, I'm going to cry. Let's see. The other thing to just point out is that they have apparently removed the point of transparency about this. So the award process, how are nominees selected? Jury of over 100 media and influencer outlets. They show the outlets. So these are the people that are voting. Global Info Bay. I don't know what that is. But these are the companies that are voting on the awards. They don't get too specific with like who within these organizations are. I think it's a lot of like, they send it on the editor of whatever group is the people that are going to vote on it. But a lot of these, I mean, I've never ever heard of. But this is why like the games journalists are the ones picking these awards and who wins. Yes, they do have the ability for the community to vote on stuff, but even that, like, how are nominees, how are winners selected? So here, winners are determined by a blended vote between the voting jury, 90%, and public fan voting, 10%. So these people have 90% weighting on their opinion, but gamers voting on it take 10%. The reason they do that is because they don't want there to be like botting where somebody like can come in and just bot their way to a win for Game of the Year. Which, I mean, let's be honest, it would be a little funny if we like botted Dustborn into the Game of the Year slot. Like that would be a little funny. Let's be honest, or Concord probably would be even funnier. That would be really, really funny and stupid. So they want to avoid that, and they want to have a way to just, you know, split off and not have to worry about it. I'm of the mind at that point, like, what are we even doing? You know, like if it doesn't really matter, why pretend like it does? But anyway, let's see this now. Let's see. You guys say I'm in for a surprise. I'm scared. Destin, good to see you, my friend. I did find it funny. They had 2 typos when they announced the nominees. They spelt Erdtree wrong and Wukong. Dude, and Jeff was saying like 3 days ago, he's like, final preparations are in place. Like, but spell check was not one of them. Okay. Let's see what we got. 2024 nominees. Should we start at like the bottom and work our way to the top? Like in college? Let's see. Esports team. And the website is struggling. Okay. It's lagging. Yeah, I think people are flooding it. Let's try again. All categories. No results. Okay, well, this is going well. Refresh. What is happening? Is the website just crashing? I guess. Okay. Well, maybe somebody's posted all of them on like X or something. Come on. Come on. Add event to calendar. Vote now. Let's try that. Vote. Okay, maybe we just try the vote button. Start voting button, and it'll take us through all of them. Let's do it that way. I don't know what order it'll have us do it here, so I think it's going to start Game of the Year. Okay. If it ever loads. Nope. Okay. We're just going to watch their video that's just them with a splash screen going up. That's what we're going to do. Okay. The Game Awards streamed 31 minutes ago. Let's see, Jeff, what you got, bro?
The Game Award, and the Game Award goes to... And the Game Award, goes to... And the winner is... And the winner is...
Come on, wrap it up. I'll stop. Dun, dun, dun.
10 years ago, we
Jeff.
began a journey together to celebrate video games as the biggest, most powerful form of entertainment in the world. And on Thursday, December 12th, right here at Peacock Theater in Los Angeles, we will recognize the best and show you what's next with the 10th anniversary of the Game Awards. Hey everybody, I'm Jeff Keighley.
Hey.
And welcome to the TGA Global Nomination Announcement Special.
Bring it on,
Today,
Jeff.
it is my distinct honor to reveal this year's nominees, recognizing talented game developers from studios big and small around the world. And you can help select the winners by voting right now at thegameawards.com. All right, you've waited long enough.
Yeah, I have.
Let's do it. Here are the nominees for the Game Awards 2024. For Best Ongoing Game, the nominees are
Okay.
Destiny 2, Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, and Helldivers 2.
Okay. What did Fortnite have anything really big? Best ongoing game? The best thing you can say about Helldivers ongoing game is that like they screwed it up and now it's better. Which I guess is an accomplishment. I don't know, ongoing. It feels weird to give it to a game that launched this year. You know? I might give it to Diablo 4 because they've managed. I went back, I played it with a buddy recently. They went back and actually made it like good again. So I might give it to them.
Your Best Performance nominees are
Let's see it.
Brianna White for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth,
Okay.
Hannah Tell for Life is Strange Double Exposure,
Okay.
Umberly Gonzalez for Star Wars Outlaws,
Okay.
Luke Roberts Silent Hill 2,
Okay.
and Melina Jurgens Senua's Saga Hellblade 2.
I mean, she was great for the 15 minutes that game lasted, so I'll give her that. As for the others, I don't have a strong opinion on this one either way. I don't feel like there were any like super standout performances this year where I was like, "Oh, they need to win." I felt like they were good, they're fine, but I don't remember any that were like, you know, Roger Clark in 2018. It was like, damn, you know, like okay, they need to win it. You know, going for Hannah, yeah, I'd say that's a fair bit. Melina, again, I just feel like the script she had that was like non-existent. It's too bad because she is great. She won last time, but
For the Best Mobile Game, the nominees are
Let's see.
AFK Journey, Balatro,
oh baby. Also, thank you, Loxy, for gifting 9 tier 1 subs over on Twitch. That is extremely generous. Thank you, my friend. Very, very, very kind. Thank you. Why no Suicide Squad? That's still going. Yeah, maybe that deserves Best Ongoing Game because that's almost more remarkable than all of these that it still exists. That's funny. You know what? There's a compelling case there. I'll give you that. I hadn't thought about it that way, but that's pretty solid. You know? We'll give him that. It's not dead yet. Everyone's shocked. We deserve an award. Best mobile game. I mean, AFK Journey, Balatro. Never heard of that one. I mean, again, I need to just play it because this is nominated for a ton of stuff. I'm betting already. And people love it. Okay, be honest. Everyone in chat, who has actually played this? Do you guys know about it? Is it like actually that good? Or is this like the year that Hearthstone was winning everything? I do. It's fun. Heard of it. The game is like crack. Oh. Everyone who plays it thinks it's awesome. That's what seems to be the case. Me, no. It rules. I hear it's fun. It's heroin. Super addictive. Okay, maybe I need to try it. And it's on mobile too, so there you go. You all have phones, don't you? You all have phones. It's kind of refreshing to see a game like this pop off, you know? It's kind of cool. Again, Loxy, appreciate you, my friend. How to get it to an even number? I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you. Yeah, welcome everybody who just got subs over there. That's awesome. Elden Ring should have been an ongoing, and Phantom Liberty was in the category last year and won. I think the reason Phantom Liberty was nominated for it was because it was like the full completion of the redemption arc. Whereas Elden Ring, like that redemption arc has just been a straight line. Like it's always been beloved. So it didn't really like need that. But anyway, let's continue on. I will catch up on super chats after we get through this, everybody. So thank you for sending those in. Thank you. I will see those.
Pokemon trading card game Pocket.
Oh, easy pog.
Wuthering Waves, and
Never heard of it.
Zenless Zone Zero.
Oh yeah, very
The
impressive.
nominees
mobile
for
game. I'll give them
Best
that.
Art Direction are Astrobot,
Okay,
Black Myth Wukong,
easy clap.
Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree,
Solid.
Metaphor Refantasio,
Absolutely solid.
and Neva.
The what was that, Jeff? Hold on. Listen to the way he said that again. That sounded so weird.
The Erd Tree, Metaphor Refantasio, and Neva.
Never. Honestly, these are all solid. Shadow of the Air Tree, phenomenal art direction. Black Myth had really good art direction. Metaphor, I'm very biased towards because I love it dearly. I'm gonna give it Metaphor.
For Best Score in Music, this year's nominees are Astrobot, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth,
Yep.
Metaphor Refantasio,
Easy pause.
Silent Hill 2,
Ooh, that's good
and
too.
Stellar Blade.
Ooh, Stellar Blade does have shockingly good music. It's not talked about a lot because often people are more focused on other large parts of the game, and so it often gets like forgotten. But it has very good audio design.
In the category of Best Audio Design,
Or
these
sound,
games are
whatever.
nominated.
Soundtrack.
Astrobot,
Yep.
Call of Duty Black Ops 6,
Cap.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth,
Cap.
Senua's Saga Hellblade 2,
It is
and
very well done.
Silent Hill 2.
I might give that to Hellblade because it is like the one thing it does very, very well is the soundscape, sound design. Like if you have a solid pair of headphones or speakers and stuff and you're playing that game, it's trippy as hell. It's the one part of that game you really can't take away from it because it really is done very, very well.
Best Adaptation recognizes excellence in
Fallout.
authentically creating shows, movies, and other creative endeavors based on video game worlds. Here are this year's nominees for Best Adaptation. Arcane, Fallout,
Oh, but Arcane. Man, okay, that's tricky.
Knuckles, Like a Dragon Yakuza, and Tomb Raider, The Legend of Lara Croft. For Best Narrative in a Game, the TGA nominees are Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth,
Okay.
Metaphor Refantasio, Senua's Saga Hellblade
Ah! Sorry. We're being professional.
2, and Silent Hill 2.
See what I mean? That like narrative is one of those where I feel really weird giving it to a remake. Cause like you literally didn't write the narrative. It was done by someone else. So like that feels really weird to me, you know? A remake, if it's like redoing the whole game, okay. But like even something I love, which is like Mafia Definitive Edition, giving that like best narrative, even though I love the narrative in that game, feels like I don't think that should count because somebody else wrote it.
Over Arcane due to Fallout being closer to the experience of the games. Arcane is amazing, but not authentic to what you get in LoL.
I think that's right, Caleb. I think that's right. Arcane's phenomenal. I just started it. So no spoilers. But yeah, it's phenomenal. But Fallout is more like one-to-one with what you'd see in the game. Like there's a lot of little nods as you play the game where you're like, or as you watch the show, if you play the game and you're like, oh, it's that thing. Oh, it's that. Oh, it's that, you know. So it's a good adaptation of the game specifically, not just the world. So I think that's a fair argument. I think that's a fair one. Sorry. Nikki's loading the kids up in the car, and so it's like my Ring cameras are going off like crazy. Okay, let's see what else we got.
Games for Impact celebrates thought-provoking games with a profound pro-social meaning or message. Here,
okay, this is the one where like this has never made sense to me because this is always filled with games nobody's ever heard of. And I feel like if the category is called Games for Impact and they literally made no impact because no one's ever heard of them, did it really have that big of an impact? Like, does it deserve an award? And so now I think if it's like games with a message, okay. Or important games, okay, I can see that. But it feels weird that the games for impact have almost always never made an impact. But let's see what they got.
are this year's nominees.
Let's see.
Closer the Distance, Indica,
I've heard of that. I couldn't tell you anything about it.
Neva,
I'm sorry, Jeff. It's just the way you say it's funny. Never. You can tell when he finishes saying it, his mouth's wide open. Never.
Life is Strange Double Exposure,
Okay.
Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, and
What's the point of it though? It's like let go. Let it go. I hate to break it to you. Adele Dazeem years ago taught us that lesson. The wickedly talented Adele Dazeem.
and Tales of Kenzera, Zao. The nominees for Best
Oh,
Community
man.
Support are Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, Helldivers 2, and No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky always is nominated for this because they do a great job. I'm going to give it Baldur's Gate because they launched mods and added a bunch of new endings and stuff. Seriously, if you've not done the evil playthroughs to see the evil endings and stuff that they added, bro, it's crazy. No spoilers, but some of those new endings and stuff that they added, it's crazy. It's crazy. Especially you play that after like Veilguard and you're going to be like, this is wow. Wow.
In the category of Best Multiplayer, the nominees are Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Helldivers 2,
Yeah.
Super Mario Party Jamboree.
Didn't this review really badly? Or am I just making that up? I thought this like didn't review well at all. Wasn't it like 6s and 7s mostly? Or am I making that up? Was it fun? Did it review pretty well? It's amazing. Oh, I guess I need to get out of my bubble. Apparently I'm in an anti Super Mario Party Jamboree bubble. Who knew?
Tekken 8, and Warhammer 40,000, Space.
Ooh. I kind of want to give it to Space Marine 2. Because it's good. It also doesn't have a ton of content. I think you might have to give it to Helldivers 2. Because that game came out of nowhere and was everywhere for like a solid 3 months. So I think you got to give it to Helldivers.
Marine 2. Best Independent Game celebrates games with a high degree of risk tolerance, as they are produced outside of the traditional publisher system.
This, I think, is the new way he's describing this category, because was it Lies of P where they nominated for Best Indie Game, even though it was published by like whatever the massive conglomerate publisher was? And so they were like, or was it Dave the Diver? I think, oh, you're right. I think it was Dave the Diver. Yeah, it was like indie game, but it had like a lot of money behind it. And so I think they just redid it and redefined it so that they have their butts covered, which it's fair. Indie game is kind of a tough thing to pin down.
The nominees are Animal Well, Balatro, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes,
What?
Neva, and
I'm sorry. It's just funny.
UFO 50.
Solid
Next is
noms.
Best Debut
Solid
Indie
noms.
Game, which recognizes a development team that hasn't won a game award before. In fact, these teams published their first game in 2024. The nominees are Animal Well,
Yep.
Balatro, Manor Lords,
Okay.
Pacific Drive, and The Plucky Squire.
Those are all really solid nominations, honestly. Any one of those could win, and I'd be like, yep, fair. So, I mean, those are all great.
For Best VR AR Game, the nominees are Arizona Sunshine Remake, Asgard's Wrath 2.
Oh, yeah, dude. Asgard's Wrath, too. It's like ridiculously good. Like, it's so good, it's insulting. Nobody like ever talks about it. Like, really
Batman Arkham Shadow.
I need to play it. I have it downloaded on the Oculus. I just have to play it because I've heard good things about it.
Metal Hellsinger VR, and Metro Awakening. For Content Creator of the Year, the nominees are Queso, Illawa.
Is Queso like a gaming YouTuber, though? I mostly just see clips of him reacting to like memes people send him about him being fat. Does he do like gaming stuff? Yeah? Oh. Who knew?
Techno Gamers, Typical Gamer, and Usada Pecora.
Sorry. I've heard of Queso, never heard of any of the others. But to be fair, if I were on this list, nobody would have ever heard of me either. I'm not saying I should be nominated because I'm far from a large creator, unlike Queso. Moving on.
Part of the Game Awards is looking forward to what's next. And yes, we'll have lots of games to announce on December 12th. But what's the most anticipated upcoming game? Here are the nominees based on currently announced titles. Death Stranding 2, On the Beach, Ghost of Yotei, Grand Theft Auto 6.
I mean, it's like,
Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and Monster Hunter Wilds.
I'm very excited for most of these. Like, I'm very, very excited for Ghost of Yotei. I'm very excited for Death Stranding 2 and the insanity that will bring. But like Grand Theft Auto 6, man. Monster Hunter Wilds, I'm also super hyped for. Dare I say hyped? I meant excited and intrigued. But it's Grand Theft Auto freaking 6, man. Like, it's going to be the biggest game of the last 20 years. Probably of ever. The biggest game of ever.
Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and Monster Hunter Wilds. The Best Action Adventure nominees are Astrobot, Prince of Persia the...
Astrobot is action adventure? That feels weird. Action adventure for Astrobot? Am I the only one that thinks that's a weird... I don't know. Stalker 2, they scheduled Stalker 2 to release 2 days after the cutoff. And I think they would have been okay if they did the review period and they launched reviews like 3-4 days ago. But they still have not put out reviews and the game comes out in like 2 days. It's a little weird. So I think they could have been on this, like been considered for this stuff, but they chose to just barely miss the deadline, which is whatever. Like, it's up to them, but that's why it's not on this list. Adventure's kind of loose, though. Yeah, no, it totally is. It's very, very loose. Prince of Persia Lost Crown, best action adventure game. Yeah, I think that's fair. It's very good.
Lost Crown, Silent Hill 2, Star Wars Outlaws, and The Legend of Zelda, Echoes of Wisdom. Star Wars, Prince of Persia. The best Lost Action Adventure nominees are Astrobot, Prince of Persia The Lost Crown, Silent Hill 2, Star Wars Outlaws, and The Legend of Zelda.
They really didn't nominate Black Myth Wukong for that? I had to rewind it because I was like, It's in the best action category. Okay, I mean, I guess I got thrown off because it's action / adventure, but I guess they're talking about the combination of the two.
Zelda, Echoes of Wisdom. For best role-playing, the jury selected...
Let's see.
Dragon's Dogma 2,
Cat.
Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree,
Cat.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth,
Easy clap.
Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth,
Very predictable.
and Metaphor Refantasy.
Yeah, that's another one where there's like no room for anybody else. Those are all top notch. So okay, I'll give it to them. Those are solid. I was braced, man. I was braced, but okay. Fair.
In the category of Best Fighting, the nominees are Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus Rising.
What? is that a game? That sounds made up. That sounds like an AI title. I know I'm offending people who are really into these games, but I'm like, I've never heard of that in my life.
Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics, Multiversus, and Tekken 8.
Okay.
The nominees for Best Action are Black Myth Wukong,
Okay.
Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Helldivers 2,
Okay.
Stellar Blade,
Ooh.
and Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2.
Those are all very good. Very good. It's tricky because Black Myth has the best boss fights. Space Marine, though, has the best like set pieces, and I think like main story wise, it has the best action. But then again, I'm biased. I like Warhammer stuff, so who knows? Stellar Blade is also really, really solid in terms of action, big set pieces. It's really wild and crazy. It's right in your face. Right there. So there's a lot of good candidates there.
Innovation in accessibility celebrates games that are making our industry available and enjoyable to more people. Selected by a special committee of accessibility experts.
Hey, calling it a special committee is a little over the... Okay, well, that's so bad. I'm sorry.
The nominees for innovation in accessibility are Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Diablo 4, Dragon Age The Veilguard.
The Veilguard. Wow. What innovations did they make, though, to accessibility? Because I remember with, like, The Last of Us Part 2, some of the stuff they did for that game was, like, insane. Where they had it, like, supported, so if you had, like, one of 15 different types of blindness, you could still play it. The Last of Us 2 accessibility features. Like, it was honestly very impressive, the amount of stuff they did to make that game more accessible. Like, really, really wild. Magnifying menus with people with, like, vision impairments. This thing, HUD options can be swapped around. You can scale up the HUD. You can change coloring on it to make it easier to make out from the background. Like, they did so much. This one, I think it won best, like, improvements in accessibility. High contrast for people with vision impairments and disabilities and stuff. Like, wildly impressive. I don't know what any of these other games have done. But then again, I'm literally not the target audience. So, but I think this is a great category to have. I think that this is great. They should keep doing this kind of thing.
Prince of Persia The Lost Crown, and Star Wars Outlaws. Next up, Best Family Game. The nominees are Astrobot, Princess Peach Showtime, Super
Sorry.
Mario Party Jamboree, The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom,
Nintendo
and
just coming in here
The
cleaning up.
Plucky Squire. The Best Sim Strategy nominees are Age of Mythology Retold,
Okay.
Frostpunk 2,
Oh yeah.
Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess, Manor Lords, and
Okay.
Unicorn Overlord.
Okay. Solid noms. I'll give them that. Those are all great.
This year, these titles are nominated for Best Sports Racing: F1 24, EA Sports FC 25, NBA 2K 25, Top Spin 2K 25, and WWE 2K 24.
Dude, just all from two
All right,
companies.
let's take a look at our 3 esports categories. Starting with Best Esports Game. The nominees are Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, League of Legends,
Yeah.
Mobile Legends Bang Bang,
Is that really what it's called? Are you serious? There's no way that's what it's called. Mobile Legends Bang Bang. Mobile Legends. I can't type. Mobile Legends Bang Bang. That's what it's called. For real. Dude. Mobile Legends Bang Bang. Who knew? Okay, well,
and
that's what. Okay.
Valorant. The nominees for Best Esports Athlete are 3-3, Alexi B, Chuvi, Faker, Zaiwu, and Kong Kong. And for the Best Esports...
Is that really how that's supposed to be pronounced? Or Kong Kong is what he said?
And for the Best Esports Team, our Special Esports Committee nominated these teams: Billy Gaming, League of Legends; Gen G, League of Legends; Navi, Counter-Strike; T1, League of Legends; and Team Liquid, Dota 2. All right, it's time for our final two categories. For Best Game Direction, which recognizes outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design, the nominees are...
Let's see it.
Astrobot.
Like, Astrobot's good, but like, it's literally just more Astrobot, just with dials cranked. So that one I'm less about.
Balatro.
Okay, novel, new IP, new game, blew up out of nowhere. So okay, that's compelling.
Black Myth Wukong.
Also, fighting against the wave of the media and everything, and you still blow up to be like one of the biggest games of the year, if not the biggest. Solid.
Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree.
Yeah, for obvious reasons, that's a really good nom. Yeah, I mean, it's Shadow of the Erd Tree. I mean, what more needs to be said?
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very well done. It's very, very well done. But I do think that there's something to be said for the, anecdotally, at least I know a lot of people that fell off the game pretty hard. Like, they were playing it, they got like 15, 20 hours in, and then they just kind of put it down and moved on. And I think like there is a problem with the pacing at about a third of the way through, but still also very, very good.
And Metaphor Refantasio.
I mean, you guys know what I like. I mean, Metaphor, very good, very good.
And finally, our global TGA jury, of which I am not a member, has selected the...
Yes. Okay, this is fair. We should clarify this because a lot of people think that like Jeff is making the final overriding decision on a lot of this stuff. But I'm going to tell you, Jeffrey, I'm going to tell you why people feel that way. Because there's no transparency, okay? I think you should make public what each of these outlets are saying. I think that's fair. You have the list of the outlets of the voting jury, right? You have this here. I think every year you should say they voted to nominate these games. You should be able to click on them on their little logo, and it should take you to their page, which is their jury member ID page. And we can see what Giant Bomb nominated. We can see what Kind of Funny, which for some reason they're on here, LA Times, PC Gamer, Polygon. We should be able to see what these people nominated, who they voted for. Be transparent. Show the spreadsheet to determine how this ended up this way. Be transparent. What is there to hide? Why should any of them be embarrassed by who they voted for? They're probably doing their own articles and their own posts saying who their Game of the Year winner is anyways. So yeah, why is Vice on here? I don't know. Isn't Vice like insolvent? Is Vice still a thing? Yep. Okay. Well, there you go. Who knew? But like, why is Vice on there? That's a great question. A lot of these I haven't heard of, but I get that some of these are more niche. But I think there should be transparency because this is the thing. People think that Jeff is making overriding decisions. That like, if Jeff really wants Shadow of the Erd Tree to be nominated for Game of the Year, that he can just put his thumb on the scale and make that happen. Do I think that's happening? No. But I understand why people think it's happening because there's no transparency. You have a list of the jury members, a lot of whom people have never heard of, and then we're just supposed to trust that like they did their thing and, you know, that's what's going to select it. I think that is just unnecessary. Make it transparent, make it open. If any of these outlets are uncomfortable with their selections and nomination votes being public, they probably shouldn't be participating. I can't believe that's like a scandalous thing to say, but if they don't want people to see what they're voting for, why should we care what they think? They should be proud of what they're voting for Game of the Year on. They should be proud of who they're nominating. Like, I don't understand why it would be so mysterious. Be transparent. Instill the confidence. Now things are nominated. Release who they voted for on the nominations. Release the spreadsheet. Everybody can see, full transparency. See, we didn't do anything. If we got it wrong, Digital Trends can come out and say, we didn't vote for this to be nominated, and the truth will come out. Again, there's nothing to hide, right? So just be transparent. But that's why he's saying and stressing right now that, like, I'm not participating in this. I'm not on the jury. The reason people think you are, Jeff, is because there's no transparency with it. Be transparent. There is literally no downside. I don't understand, other than like one outlet that like secretly voted for this game to screw it over. Like, I don't, but then that's their problem. That's not your problem. Be transparent. I don't understand what the argument would be to keep it locked down like this. It's really, really weird. It's really, really weird.
The following 6 games as nominees for Game of the Year at the Game Awards 2024. The Game of the Year nominees
Let's see it.
are Astrobot
Nobody's surprised.
from Team Asobi, Balatro from Local Thunk, Black Myth Wukong by
Solid. Okay.
Game Science, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree by From Software.
That's why that post went out.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth from Square Enix.
Easy.
And
I swear to God, this better be Metaphor.
Metaphor ReFantazio from Studio Zero.
Okay.
So there you have it. Those are your nominees for Game of the Year. And yes, that means you'll hear the Game Awards Orchestra, conducted by Lauren Balfe, play their themes live on this very
Flute
stage
Guy.
on December 12th. But before then, you should head to thegameawards.com to help select the winners by casting your ballot in all categories. Also, stay tuned for the announcement of our Player's Voice category, where fans 100% select the winner from 30 nominees. We'll announce those nominees on Monday, December 2nd.
And again, earlier we were talking about why they only give it 10% in the final like official Game of the Year vote. And it's because they don't want like the definitive Game of the Year from the awards show to be given to whoever botted the most votes. So with Player's Choice, it's like wide open enough that, you know, they can kind of just let people go crazy with it. Because the obvious thing is like, well, shouldn't Game of the Year be like by definition Player's Choice? Shouldn't that be what wins? But it's because they don't want any like funny business going on. But yeah, we'll see. Who do you guys think wins Player's Choice? I would imagine Black Myth, or like, I think Black Myth probably. Concord. We should probably all vote for Concord, honestly, at this point. Suicide Squad. All those are good. Wukong easily play. I can't think of a game that has like a bigger following with more like people that are rooting for it. I think it's got to be Black Myth. So I think that that's fair. Yeah, I think it's got to be. I think it's got to be Black Myth. But we'll see. Maybe we'll be surprised. I don't know. So there we are. There we are. Final opinion on it. I think all those noms are solid. It doesn't really feel like anybody got totally shafted or anything. I think my takeaway is I need to play Balatro before going any deeper, because that's nominated for a ton of stuff and I've not touched it. So I feel like I need to try that to see what all the fuss is about. But honestly, I think solid nominations, other than my like premise that I personally don't think DLC should qualify for Game of the Year awards because they are expansions to games. They're not games themselves. I understand people can be like, oh, well, but it's big enough to be its own game. Okay, but it's not. It was released as a DLC. If they wanted it to be considered as its own game, they should have released it as its own game, but they didn't. Like, You know, it's not that crazy. So DLC I don't think should qualify. Remasters I don't think should qualify. Remakes, so long as they're truly transformative, should qualify. But the one tidbit here, like we talked about, I don't think it should be I don't think they should qualify for narratives. Like, I don't think it should qualify for best narrative because the narrative was literally written by somebody else years ago. So I don't think like a remake should qualify for best story. Even though it might be an amazing story, I just don't like, you didn't write the story. You just remade everything around the story. So yeah, I mean, it's solid noms, other than the little bitty things that I disagree with just on the principle of it. I think that those were all solid. No big crazy surprises. I think there's plenty of room for potential upsets and potential like wild outcomes, but I'm excited to see how it goes. Just kind of a weird year, you know? People have pointed, they're like, there still are a lot of really, really good games that came out this year, and that is true. I think just in contrast to last year, this year feels very, very hollow, because last year there were so many games that were like so definitively fantastic that I think this year it's like there's more of a question mark around stuff where there's not as clear cut. These are the front runners. Like, this is going to win, you know? Yeah, 2023 was an anomaly. I agree, but it's kind of altered our opinions. Next year is also going to be an anomaly, so just buckle up. It's going to be really, really weird and crazy. But solid, you know, we're in the home stretch. We're circling it. I think a lot of people were braced for them to have like Dustborn and other such games, like maybe Veilguard, nominated for games with impact or games with whatever. And they were not. And I think it's because there even is, within games journalist circles, there's a lot of conflict where people, there's sort of a shift going on, right? Like, it's happening not just in the gaming world, but also like politically, just in general, where a lot of groups are trying very hard to make sure they're not on the wrong side of the public. And so you have a lot of these like major groups that are trying really hard to not piss off a lot of people, and they don't want to rock the boat too much, which is, I think, why a lot of these choices are very safe. I've seen it, I've heard it from people inside some of these big groups where previously they would have been maybe a little bit more bold. So it's gonna be interesting. Hot take: Star Wars Outlaws should be nominated for best game or for best music. Oh, interesting. Let me catch up on all these super chats real quick. I'll work my way through them. Okay. Let's see. Lonely Fades, thank you again for the membership. Gaylord Wanker, what a name. Thank you for that. Do you think Hellblade 2 should have been nominated for, I mean, audio design? Yeah, I think that's fair. Anything else is a bit of a stretch. I do think there should be a category for like best graphics or best technical, like graphical achievement or something. I do think that should be a category. And then that, it could probably get nominated for that. Blake Rogers, thank you for the 10. Very generous. Putting on my tinfoil hat for this, but I think it's because there are too many games that the media hated and don't want to put on a pedestal, including DLC fixes this for them pretty much. I agree. I think that there were lots of games that were very polarizing. I'm still surprised. Maybe the biggest surprise of all of this is that Star Wars Outlaws got so many nominations for stuff. Because if you looked on YouTube or Twitter, you would think that that game was like Concord levels of terrible. But it still was nominated for, I think, 2 or 3 awards. So, I mean, that's impressive. Made in Korea, thank you for that. Rumor of Dark Souls 3 remake. Bloodborne fans are on suicide watch. Yeah, I did hear those rumors. Thank you for the 10 again. Very generous. But yeah, I heard rumors that Dark Souls 3 remake is in the mix. I've said it before and I'll say it again. They're just sitting on Bloodborne remake. They're just sitting on it. They're going to bring it probably at the launch of the PS6 generation. What other game would have an amazing potential for selling consoles other than a Bloodborne 2 remake and remaster? Dude, like, it would print money. Just imagine what would happen if they announced Bloodborne 2 and they're like, only on the PlayStation 6. If they were worried about selling out, now there's no question. I mean, it makes too much sense. They're not allergic to money. They know it would print money. The only other potential hook on this is that maybe it honestly is the case that From Software half owns the rights or whatever, or has final say, and they just don't want to do it. Because Hidetaka Miyazaki, if he says, I don't want to do Bloodborne 2, I'm good. Are you going to say no to him? Like, that's his decision, you know? He is like one of the few people in the industry where if he says, I don't want to do that, I want to do this other thing, companies are like, okay, we trust you. There was a time where the idea of him doing Elden Ring instead of like Dark Souls 4 was like, really? You're not going to do Dark Souls 4? I remember that interview, and Aminal, I think, or no, it was, who said it? Who is Morn? I remember that interview. What he said was like, it was a very special game to them. And they loved working on it. But in the context of the whole interview that he gave, he kind of talked about it like how you talk about like a job you worked at years ago. We're like, yeah, it was really formative. It really helped make me who I am today. Not saying that he'd want to go back and do it again, but like, I'm really thankful for the lessons it taught us and for this and that. He wasn't like, I cannot wait till I get a chance to make another one. You know, he was much more coy about it. Anyway, Joe Mitchell, thank you for the 5. Suicide Squad killed the Justice League for Game of the Year. I mean, best technical achievement, I think it actually could have been nominated pretty easily. And, you know, because it's a beautiful, in cutscenes, game. Everything else kind of sucks, but it was beautiful in cutscenes at least. But no, they couldn't find a way to nominate it for anything, which I think is fair. Anshul, thank you for that. Did they remove the insane pay to win from Diablo? Was it pay to win or was it, I don't know. Everything they did with season 1, they backtracked. So when I was trying it the other day, granted, I'm not like super deep into it like a lot of these like guys that have the spreadsheets and everything, but I really enjoyed it. And I think it's only cosmetics as far as I'm aware, but maybe they did add something for stashes or something. Diablo 4 was never pay to win. I was going to say, I thought it was just cosmetics, but Anshul says they had pay to win. Maybe you're thinking of Diablo Immortal. Maybe that's what you're thinking of. Because Diablo Immortal did have a lot of like pay to win stuff. That must be what you're thinking of. The Three Kings should have been, let's see, Elden Ring should have been an ongoing game. Phantom Liberty was in that category last year and won. Yeah, I think I talked about this earlier too. It's just, I think the reason Phantom Liberty was in there was because it like helped complete the character arc, the redemption arc. Let's see, The Acorn. That's great. That's funny. Despite missing a story and world, Balatro is my game of the year. Dude, I really do need to. It's on mobile, right? We all have phones, don't we? Maybe I need to add it. Balatro, yeah. It's $10 on mobile. Do I really care that much? Is this the right one? $10 on the Play Store, is that right? And it's the same game, right? I'm not like, I don't want to get like, oh, it's Balatro on mobile, but it's not really the same game. It's the same exact game. Okay. It's the same. Okay. I'll buy it. Installing it here. We'll do it. I'll try it. Because they're more likely to play it like on my phone or like on my Tab S9. Which also, shout out, that tablet is amazing. Way better than the iPad in my opinion. Oh yeah. Ooh, groovy. Hold on. You're allowed to have bad opinions, Harrington, but you can't spam the same message 15 times. Otherwise, you get timed out. If you do it again, you get banned. Sorry. Sorry. Couldn't get past Tree Sentinel. That's funny. Okay, Cool Pandas. Thank you for the 2. Have you watched the Half-Life 2 documentary? I have not, but it is on my weekend watch list. I need to do it. Caleb, thank you for 5 months. I'd say Fallout over Arcane due to Fallout being closer to the experience of the game. So Arcane is amazing, but not authentic to what you get in League of Legends. Yeah, we mentioned that earlier in the stream. I agree with the idea that Fallout as a show is a better like reworking of your experience in the games to the story and to the show. Whereas Arcane is great, but you watch Arcane and then you go play League of Legends, you're like, what?
Balatro was great when I was traveling to Vegas back in October. No online needed, so was perfect for planes, etc.
Ooh, that's a good point too. Yeah. Now I'm excited. Did I watch Arcane? I started it recently. No spoilers, please. But yeah, I'm loving it. I'm somebody that binges, so like I don't like watching. Like if I'm going to start something, I want there to be more than like a few episodes. I want there to be more than like one season. I want there to be enough for me to like really sink my teeth into and obsess over the course of like a week and a half to 2 weeks, you know? So typically if a show is really, really good after season 1, I'm like, I'm going to wait till season 2 drops and then I can binge through 2 seasons all at once, right? So that's kind of where I'm at. Watch Severance, Luke, season 2 coming out soon. Oh, my brother was telling me about that too. He has a bunch of shows. He's like, you need to watch this. I have a whole back catalog. How is Elden Ring DLC being nominated? Winning? Yeah, I mean, they just changed the category. I think somebody else was asking, what are the odds I think that it wins? Maybe we do a poll. Should we do a poll? Let's do a poll. Straw poll. Let's do this. Do you think Elden Ring Shadow of the Air Tree wins GOTY? And it's just really simple. Yes. No. Really simple. Okay. And then I'm going to copy this and we're going to post it in Twitch chat and YouTube chat. And I'll pin it so people can see it. Pin and pin. There we go. So vote in that. I think, do I think the odds are that high? I just frankly don't. I think it's there. Tinfoil hat on. I think it's there because Jeff or the committee in general, they really, really want to keep From Software like really happy. And maybe, just maybe, they're hoping they get the announcement of their next big game at the Game Awards. And maybe this is like the tit for tat where it's like, hey, we'll keep your games like in the discussion. We'll keep this up. But just remember who brought you to the dance when the time comes, you know? Or maybe they just really like it. That's another possibility. But if we're trying to look for a conspiracy, maybe that's what it is. So I don't think the odds of it winning are that high. That's my personal guess. I think it's probably a tit for tat. They're trying to keep them happy. Isn't journalist votes? Yeah, I mean, let's be clear. But Jeff and his company is the one who decides whether it can enter that category. So it doesn't happen if Jeff says no DLC can win Game of the Year. Because Jeff and his company made the policy change that it can, now it can be voted and nominated on by the journalists. And I don't know. I've not seen the survey they send out. It's possible. It's possible that they send it out with a list of like 8 games that they can pick for Game of the Year. I'm guessing they don't have just blank spaces for them to type in the game they think should get it. Maybe they do, but again, when we talk about transparency, this is something that could be really, really good, Jeff. If you just tweeted out what the survey looks like, what everybody voted, send out all that data, make it totally transparent. Do that. But it's possible that they maybe kind of push certain games into nominations by having them on the list and having others not included on the list. Or maybe it's totally open and they can write in whatever they want. But the point is, it's not clear because they are not transparent about it. And it should be, because again, there's no downside to being transparent. But so far, you guys are saying about 75% think it doesn't really stand a chance of winning Game of the Year. It's just kind of there for appearances. Interesting. So, solid noms, but moving on. Let's finish catching up on these. Oh, he's back. Gaylord Wanker, representing, says GTA 6 will not even release this decade, but got nominated anyways. Will not even release this decade, but got nominated anyways instead of AC Shadows. Also, it'll be really funny if Prince of Persia won Action. What do you mean won't release this decade? I mean, it's literally releasing next year. I don't understand what you mean. I'm not really sure what you're talking about. But it got nominated. Oh, instead of like for most hyped, is that what you mean? Most anticipated game, it got nominated instead of AC Shadows. I mean, AC Shadows right now is just kind of like radioactive, so I don't think any journalist wants to touch it. He's on drugs. How dare you suggest that Gaylord Wanker is on drugs? Okay, maybe you're right. Bless. Thank you for the vibe. I feel like a certain monster catching indie is missing. Yeah, no, you notice Pal World is nowhere to be found anywhere. That's maybe the biggest snub. Not maybe, I think you're right. That is the biggest snub. Yeah. I mean, maybe Best Action Adventure, I think it could easily have gotten nominated for. Because what was it that got nominated for Action Adventure? Nominees. Categories. Action Adventure. Best Action Adventure. Like, really? We're going to give like Star Wars Outlaws Action Adventure over Pal World? Just to spite Nintendo should have been nominated. I mean, again, kind of talking about the tit for tat, I think there's a good chance if they had included Pal World in these considerations, Nintendo could have backhanded them. Because you remember, there wasn't the Switch 2 or the Switch? Let's see. Would have been like 2016. I think it was originally shown off at Jimmy Fallon. Dude, I forgot. Trending Gamer Award in 2016 went to Boogie. Dude, that's crazy. A different era. Different era, wasn't it? That's crazy. That's crazy. Oh, are you repeating the same thing? Yeah, you can't repeat the same messages, guys. You can't do that. It sucks the life out of the chat. No copy and pasting over and over. Just like in high school or middle school or elementary school, you can't do that. Anyway, I think that there's a chance that maybe they need to keep Nintendo happy. So maybe Pal World was not welcome because maybe there's a non-zero probability that something Nintendo related that's big gets announced at the Game Awards. There's a non-zero possibility of that. And I think if they do reveal something where it's like the first trailer for the Switch 2 or something, and that's at the Game Awards, that would explain why Pal World was not here, because it was like, we need to keep them happy. But if it's not there, then maybe, you know, they just were like, yeah, we don't want to touch it. But interesting. Again, they could fix this if they were transparent. There'd be no question. But they're not transparent. So I think they should really do that. Really open it up. Let's see. Where were we? Okay, Blake, thank you for the 2. Player's Choice to me will always be the true game of the year. Yeah, I mean, you would think that it would really be just always Player's Choice, but the reason, again, they don't want to open it up is because they're worried about interference and like botting and stuff, which is fair, because that would be a problem. Like, who can afford the most bots to just flood the market with upvotes? You know, it would be pretty toxic. Reinhardt 98, thank you for that 5. I don't understand why Astrobot got so many nominations. The game sold 1 million and something, and the game is just on one platform. Everyone who plays Astrobot is like, yeah, it's really good. I think it's really good, but it's also more Astrobot. Like, it's not that revolutionary. Astrobot's really good because Astrobot's really good, but it's just more Astrobot, you know? And I also don't think it's quite on the level of what they're acting like it is, but I don't know. It's to me it's like, it's good. And I don't think you should be limited in your access to Game of the Year based on sale numbers. If we were giving like bonuses to the games that sell the best, Call of Duty would be on Game of the Year lists every year, you know? Same with FIFA, same with all these others, or I guess now it's Football Championship or FC. But so I don't think sales should have an impact on whether a game is nominated or not. But I do think it at the very least says that there's something where it didn't connect with as many people as some of these other games, you know, and that should maybe be considered. So I get what you're saying. Luke Snub of Astrobot's insane. Yeah. I'm a hater. No. Again, I like Astrobot. I just don't think it's like that amazing. I'm like, yeah, it's good. I liked it. I think there were other games this year that were way better, but like, or more original, more interesting, more compelling. In terms of like enjoyment, it might be way up there. It might be one of the best games in terms of raw fun of the year. But I think there's other games that took way more risks, that are way crazier, way more original, way wackier. And I think that should be rewarded over just a polishing of a thing that you already knew was really good, which was Astrobot. Let's see, where else was I? Nithin, thank you for the 2. Also, thank you for the 5. Thoughts on Veilguard only getting nominated for one category? Which one was it? What category was it? I closed the tab. What did it get nominated for? It wasn't role-playing game. Was it art? Oh, accessibility. You're right. Again, I haven't dug into the accessibility options, so I'm not totally sure. I'm fine with it being nominated for some stuff. Like, again, if they had best technical performance, if that was a nomination category for like AAA games, I think it should get nominated for that. It was super polished, and I think that deserves credit. You could even have subcategories for like best character creator, and, you know, be nominated with like Dragon's Dogma 2. And I think there were things that the game did really, really well. It's just the really important stuff, I think it did pretty poorly. Like the RPG stuff, the writing, you know, those huge pillars for the game, I didn't think were very good. But it did do this other smaller stuff really, really well. So I'm okay if it's nominated for the smaller stuff, but that's why I don't think it deserves like Game of the Year contender or anything, because the big components were pretty problematic. To borrow a word. Let's see. The Acorn, thank you for the 2. Get ready to hear the Balatro theme in the medley. I can't wait. I mean, maybe I can, but I'm going to play it, so we're going to find out. Spec Ops, again, thank you for that 21 months. That's crazy. Almost 2 years. Here we go. Thank you, my friend. And yeah, Balatro on the plane. Perfect. Love it. Why don't they have a category for expansion of the year? I think it's because some years there's lots of expansions and big stuff. Other years it's really empty. So they don't want to nominate like a bunch of lackluster things. But I would say then just give it 3 nominations. Like if you're really worried about not having enough nominations or enough games to nominate, just make it more niche. You know, like keep it easy, keep it simple. Shadow of the Air Tree took Stellar Blade's spot. Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. And I had a tweet with, or a post, whatever the hell, with this, where Jeff sent out and was like, what's your prediction for the biggest snub in the nominations tomorrow? And I said, all those games that won't get nominated because a DLC or remake took their spot. Little sassy, little salt. I'll give you that. Yeah, no, there's some like Elden Ring stans who are like, suck it up, nerd, you know, and that's fine. The point is, I've already explained why I don't think DLCs and remakes and remasters and stuff should be considered for certain categories. And even then, like, remakes have limitations. But the problem is, like, when you do open it up and those games can get nominated, they are literally taking a spot from a game that was totally original this year. And I think that's too bad. Because we should be rewarding the risk takers, the companies and studios that really go out on a limb and do something crazy, but instead we're giving another nom to like one of the most awarded studios of all time, which is fine, but I'd like to nominate some real risk takers and companies that went out and did something wacky that nobody thought would work that did, you know. Let's see. Sumaya, thank you for that. I'm glad Metaphor and Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth are getting nominated, but Astrobot being nominated so many times is funny. Yeah, I'm glad that those are getting some rep. I was worried that Metaphor would just be kind of passed over because the people that like Metaphor really like Metaphor, but most people who are not super into Atlas games, they're not going to touch it, which is fine. But I do definitely think it's probably not going to win Game of the Year because of that. Like, I still think front runner for Game of the Year is probably something like Final Fantasy or Astrobot. I still think that has a better chance of winning than Metaphor. I would love Metaphor to win, but I don't think it stands that big of a chance, honestly. Drive Ice, thank you for the 10. Very generous. Could there be a lack of nominations for multiplayer survival games like Pal World or Enshrouded or Sons of the Forest be because of their alpha stages in development? I mean, maybe, but even then, like, I don't know. Again, if they were transparent about it, and if they were just like, oh, we didn't nominate these games because they're not fully 1.0 released yet. Okay. But I think they should be very clear about that. They should be transparent about that and say that. But I'm not sure if that's the limitation, if that's why. But if that is why, that's very interesting. Oh, it's an alt account. It's the same message as before. You can't post the same thing over and over again, dude. Let's see. Tenacious Beagle, thank you for that. 25 hours into Kingdom Come, and I'm sad to say I don't think it's for me, which is unfortunate. The world in writing is amazing, but I wasn't prepared for the intense simulation and clunky combat. Game Awards revealed predictions. I mean, as for like specific predictions, we kind of went through that earlier. I still think Metaphor is probably my favorite game of the year, but I just don't think it's very likely to win. But nothing crazy. But thank you for the super chat. Pretty safe. Did you see the claims flying around that the Dark Souls 3 remaster in development? Kind of sad that Bloodborne is being looked over. I don't think they're looking over Bloodborne. I think they're just waiting to do that till they have the PlayStation 6, and it's going to be one of their console sellers at launch. Basically, you remember... Oh, reveal predictions. Oh, you're right. Okay, I'll answer that in just a second. Yeah, I think it's going to be like Demon Souls for the PS5. I think that's going to be the Bloodborne 2 or Bloodborne remaster, remake, whatever. I think that's what they're going to do. As for As for Game Awards reveal predictions, that question makes more sense. So thank you, Tenacious. Do I think they show off anything really crazy? I do think Haze Light, the guys that did It Takes Two, I do think they reveal something. So I think we see whatever that is. It's still expected probably before the end of March. So I do think we see the whatever next game from It Takes Two to come out there. Trailer 2 for GTA 6? I don't think they do that at the Game Awards. I don't think they need to. Like, why do that? And honestly, like, I don't think Jeff should do that because I think it's gonna suck all the energy out from everything else.
Red Fajita is now a member. I feel like Helldivers 2 could have done so much more if PlayStation didn't drop the ball with their PC audience.
I agree. No, I mean, they pissed off their core fan base, and then their community management was also really crappy for the first half of the year. I think that they thankfully it seems like they've recovered a bit, but they really fumbled the ball after having like one of the best and most successful breakout launches of any game in history. New Naughty Dog game, I still think that's far away. I think if they have a Naughty Dog trailer or something, it's going to be like a teaser that's 15 seconds long, and then they fully reveal it next year or something. But I still think that that's probably a little ways away. There's a decent opportunity for there to be something from Santa Monica. Corey, director of God of War, big man himself. If you watch and look at like his Twitter account, I hope he's okay, because like he's posted some interesting things about sci-fi, about space, all sorts of stuff. But like Star Trek stuff, lots of sci-fi. Oh yeah, this video is great.
I want to Kratos. Kratos to depends on the weapon and the man.
Really good, right? So there's a lot of stuff he's posted that I've been following. But it sounds like he's going into overdrive in terms of work. Hilo and I are in LA for a meeting tomorrow, and this is first and most important. It's like, why were they in LA? What was the meeting? So some people were wondering if there was going to be some sort of surprise announcement or something for his sci-fi game. Because you might remember there was a sci-fi game in development at Santa Monica Studio before the God of War relaunch and reboot, and it got canceled, and a lot of people have wondered if they've gone back and like reworked it and rebooted it. So I don't know. Yeah. Are you aware that they just surprise dropped a 60 FPS update for AC Syndicate on PS5 and PS5 Pro? It just dropped. Really? No way. Yeah, look at that. 21 minutes ago. Get ready to rediscover Victorian London. Starting tomorrow, console players can download a free patch and run AC Syndicate at 4K 60 on PS5, PS5 Pro, and Xbox Series X. 1080p 60 FPS on Series S. Dude. That's baller. Sweet. It's been a long time, but they actually finally added the console support. That's great. Let me continue catching up on these. Where was I? As for big reveals, yeah, maybe something from there. Haze Light, I think we definitely see other like world premieres. I don't know, man. Maybe a new trailer for Mafia. Yeah, that's possible. So that could be their Metal Gear Solid 3 remake release date. Yeah, that's solid. I think that's a possibility. Blue Points Project. Oh, maybe. Maybe. I still think if they had that, then maybe they would save it for the PlayStation show, but you never know. Maybe they do a little tease. Monolith Wonder Woman. I do think DC has stuff, or DC, Warner Brothers has stuff that they're sitting on that they need to show. It's rumored that next year we're gonna get the Hogwarts Legacy director's cut. So we might get a trailer for that, whatever that is. That's where Rocksteady's been working. They've been working on something for that. So maybe they're doing like redoing animations, maybe they're redoing character creator, who knows. The Wonder Woman game, it's like it should be ready. It should be ready to show. There's been rumors that it might be in some rough development, oopsie poopsie hell, but who knows? Who knows? Death Stranding, yeah, I would say the most likely reveal is something Death Stranding 2 related, because Jeff and Kojima are like, was that too graphic? Maybe. So Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra, that's the other one that's like kind of been MIA, even though I think it's next year, right? Rise of Hydra. Yeah, this one.
They're combing the streets.
I'm calling it now. This is going to be basically like next year's Order 1886. I think it's going to be incredibly beautiful, and it's going to be super short and super shallow. I'm calling it. That's what I think this is going to be. It's going to be beautiful, but stupid short. I would love to be wrong. I would love for it to be amazing and like basically Uncharted, but this. But I think it's gonna be, like 4 or 5 hours, and mostly cutscenes. That's my guess. But maybe we do hear something about this. It's possible. Instant Messenger, thing for that. People seem to forget that Sekiro received its Game of the Year award, but did not translate into more sales. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily translate in more sales. It's just like acknowledgement and appreciation from the industry. And I think it does have an impact on future sales, on future releases. You know, when you can say from the studio that brought you Game of the Year 2019, you know, that does help, I think. But yeah, it doesn't necessarily directly help with like sales immediately. So let's see what else we got. Red Fajita, thank you for that. Yeah, we read that one earlier. Thank you again for that. Instant Messenger Sama, thank you. Kingdom Hearts 4 is in development since 2020, and the new Quantic Dream game Star Wars Eclipse could also appear. Yeah, the Quantic Dream game apparently though has been in development hell because they tried to like use their old engine, but it could not handle the crap that they had, and so they were just like super limited. I don't know. I'm not expecting it. I think it's still a ways off. Kingdom Hearts 4, that's possible it's revealed, but we'll see. Gaylord Wanker, thank you for that. I was saying GTA 6 might get delayed, just like RDR2 did in 2017. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 should have been nominated instead of GTA 6. Not on drugs. Oh, well, dude, you should try it. They're great. I'm kidding. Don't. That's bad. Drugs are bad, kids. I think it's not going to get delayed out of the decade. I mean, it's 2024. It's not getting delayed 7 years. They keep affirming that it's ready for next year.
What do you think FromSoft might bring to TGA? They do yearly releases, right? Maybe a C6 DLC? A new IP? Also 22 months, so baby we. Tremendous.
tremendous. I mean, I don't know. They just did like Armored Core, or they just did Shadow of the Erdtree. And I don't think Armored Core really like did well enough to justify a big expansion. Maybe they do it still just to surprise us, but I don't think that's super likely. I think it's more likely that they just take their time and wait. Dude, the Lego Horizon Adventures thing is so sad. It's just getting like sadder and sadder. Like their big official page posted the new Lego set. It's at 1.5K views after 5 hours. If you haven't seen, like, the budget was not super big, I don't think, but like their 24-hour peak over the weekend, like through Sunday, was 360. Saturday they peaked at 436. Like, there's no way this is profitable, right? I mean, maybe on PlayStation it's selling super well. Maybe. But it's also on Switch, right? I think. But I don't think that game made money. I don't think that turns a profit. Maybe it does. Maybe just barely. Because it was way cheaper. It was way cheaper. But, I mean, it's definitely not where you want to be. Jor's gonna come in with his 300 accounts to boost it. Even Jor was like, eh. Even Jor was not that blown away by it. Anyway. People just don't care about Lego. Well, they care about good Lego games. The thing is, most Lego games are made by TT. And they're just like, they're not that, I don't know. This one is not made by them, and it lacks a lot of the interesting puzzles and interesting dynamics and stuff. It's super like linear. It's super limited. It's just not that crazy. Oh, but this is interesting. This is interesting. This just got suggested to me. Naughty Dog full-length 30th anniversary video posted 9 years ago on December 23rd, 2014. So December 23rd, 2024 will be their 40th anniversary. If you had any announcements, wouldn't it be pretty cool to announce it on your 40th anniversary? Wouldn't that be kind of cool? Just saying. Just saying. If you had something that was close to being ready to show, just postpone until the 50th. Yeah, we just need a little more time. We just need a little bit more. Yeah, that's a big if. That's a big if. But maybe. That actually makes me wonder if there's a better chance that they show up at the Game Awards. Like, we're celebrating our 40th year. That's interesting. Oh, and apparently Twitch continues to implode. There's a report saying that 10 major companies have reportedly suspending all advertising on Twitch over concerns of anti-Semitism from some of their largest creators. Oops! It's the most Twitch story I've ever heard. Let's see where we're at. Ricadius, thank you for the 5. What is there to even remaster about Dark Souls 3? It looks as good as Elden Ring. Is available on the same systems, plus maybe another. I mean, if you can get that looking like Demon Souls, I'd be down. The remake of Demon Souls. I think you could get it looking that good. I'm all in for it. Because it's definitely like a 20. Was that 2016 or 17? It's one of those years. It's an older game for sure, but yeah, it's not the most necessary remake for sure. And then Proto, thank you for the 22 months again. And then Jacob, thank you for the 5. Are you surprised that Persona 3 did not, or did get any? I think you mean didn't get any nominations. Not really. Persona 3, like that was a really, really niche thing. So I'm not super shocked. Twitch continues to do it. What did Asmongold do now? Well, apparently, like all the reporting coming out is that this is because of concerns over, like, specifically anti-Semitism from like big political streamers like Hassan, for example. So whether that actually is why people are leaving, who knows? But it does seem like people are worried about it, like advertisers are worried about it. Luality. At this point, the term RPG means nothing in video games. Our moms could be considered an RPG. Maybe your mom. Oh, man. Oh, man. Anyway. Asmon's a political streamer. I mean, a lot of those big streamers are now just doing political stuff, unfortunately, even though, like, we should just be talking about video games, but that's just what we're doing now, I guess. But I think everybody agrees that there's inconsistent enforcement on Twitch. Some people can say something and be banned for a month and a half, 2 months. Then other people will say something almost identical and they like nothing happens at all. There definitely is inconsistent moderation. It's why I'm not comfortable putting more effort into Twitch, because it's just really, really there's a lot of favoritism, it seems, where certain creators can get away with anything they want and then other creators can't. And there seems to be a common thread with political affiliations of the people that can get away with stuff. And then, you know, both people can be saying horrible things that nobody should be okay with, you know, streamers saying on stream. But one is banned, the other is allowed to continue saying the horrible stuff. And I'm like, either ban them both or don't ban either of them. Like, let's be consistent at the very least. But apparently advertisers are fed up with it. And like, it's really affecting some of these big streamers, like a lot. And like that, the thing is, advertising is how Twitch mostly makes like a huge chunk of their money. I mean, the subs and stuff is great, but they give out a lot of money through Prime subs. I think it was, wasn't it? I think it was XQC, something crazy, like 60% of his income was from like gifted, or not gifted, from Prime subs. So if Amazon decides to pull Prime subs, like Twitch is over. All of those streamers are leaving, because that's where most of the money is tied up in for a lot of those guys. So I think they are kind of freaking out, justifiably so, because the money's drying up. But this is what you get when you're not consistent with moderation. Like, the rules should apply to everybody or to no one. That's just how it is. This is how it is. Hold on, I have to take my antibiotics for my ear infection. When the doctor looked at my ear, she just looked in with the scope. Oh shit. Like, it's pretty bad when the doctor's like, oh my God. It was bad. It hurt so bad, dude. I was like asleep and I woke up at 3 a.m. and it felt like somebody had jammed a pen in my ear. I was like, oh no, I pissed off Nikki enough. Finally, she's gone and done it. She's trying to kill me. But no, it was just an ear infection. And when I went to the doctor in the morning, they were like, oh, wow. It was crazy. You know, headphones are bad for you. Like, yeah, the second I get off stream, I turn off. Like, I take off the headphones. I use speakers and stuff, but can't use speakers when we're streaming. Otherwise the feedback loop is bad. You did sound congested on Friday? Yeah, I mean, it's still kind of bad, but the antibiotics are certainly helping. I got food poisoning last week. Felt like I was gonna explode. Dude, food poisoning is something else. I follow a guy on TikTok, and then we'll talk about this. I follow a guy on TikTok. All he does is he goes to like Indian street food vendors, and he gets something, and then he tries to take a single bite of it. And the whole TikTok video is just him going to the place, buying the food for 5 cents, eating a bite of it, and then he sees if he can make it through the day without explosive diarrhea. Probably 85% of the time, he fails. It's honestly quite entertaining. It's very, because you'll see, you're like, that looks delicious. I bet that's going to be good. And it like, there was one I saw where the guy took a bite of it and he's like, I don't want to get too graphic, but everything is green. Like everything. It's like, yep, go to the doctor. That's not good. That's bad. I want Luke's algorithm. Dude, I have worked day in, day out to get that algorithm, and I'm not giving it up. I'm not giving it up. More entertaining than the Rizzler doing the chin scratch? I mean, nothing's more entertaining than that. I mean, let's be honest. Let's not get crazy here. I had a throat infection that turned into a lung inflammation, was on sick leave for 2 weeks. Now I'm going back to work. Still not 100%, but I got to make money too. Yeah, dude, jeez. Golly. Anyway, sorry everybody for talking about green expulsions. That's the word I came up with after that delay. Yeah, the Rizzler all day, every day. Let's talk about this. News segment. Here we go. Are you ready to talk about the king? You better be. He's back. He has given us another statement of his wisdom. Praise be to the king. Praise be. Praise be. Todd has spoken once more. He has shared his wisdom. He has come back into our hearts, and we are here to appreciate the good word. The good word. Everybody in chat, everyone in chat, praise be, praise be, praise to the Todd, praise to the Todd. What exactly did he say? Well, he finally responded to critiques of the expansion. Interesting, Todd. Pray tell more, please. What he said, as outlined in this article from Games Radar. Todd Howard was left questioning whether adding vehicles to Starfield via a free update before the expansion was the right thing to do. And it's all thanks to fan feedback. Of course, the first expansion launched to mixed reviews. As our own Starfield Shattered Space review details, quote, it's a solid expansion that presents a lot of choices and exploration, but doesn't really deliver on the horror aspect Bethesda teased, which is absolutely true. Like the first 30 minutes, there's like, ooh, spooky corridor or whatever. Doesn't really end up going anywhere. And then the rest of the expansion is just like straight up a section of Starfield that feels like it was cut out. It really does not feel like it was crafted with the feedback from the base game in mind. Because I don't think it was. I think it was mostly done beforehand, or at the very least, the philosophy when they were creating it was not altered after the feedback of the base game, which could be because they made it before or started working on it before the game launched. Or it could also be that they didn't listen to any of the feedback because they think that it's really good, which I think is more likely the case, because all of the interviews and stuff I've read about Starfield after the fact, they're very, very much like ostrich with their head in the sand. Like they do not want to hear the negative feedback. They're very confident in what they did. Every time you ask Todd about Starfield and the feedback, he's like, well, but we had the most players we've ever had on a release. And it's like, is that really the standard that you should be shooting for? Like, there's a difference between popularity and quality. I hate to tell you, man. Anyway, he continues on with this. One of the most common complaints about the DLC, however, was its lack of content in the form of new features. And that's why adding the first ever drivable land vehicle in a Bethesda RPG beforehand felt like it might have been a wrong move. Yeah, they added the rover maybe a few weeks before, maybe a month. Let's see if we can find. Published August 20th. New and free update. And then I think the expansion came like a week and a half, 2 weeks later. Oh no, it was on September 30th. So it was like over a month before. It was over a month before. And they showed it off around the same time, around E3. So a lot of people thought they were just going to wait and put them out together, the expansion and the rover at the same time. But no, they ended up doing the rover like a full month beforehand. And I think the strategy was to try and get people back in the game to like try it and get familiar with it and be like, ooh, yeah, Starfield's fun. I'm going to grind out a little more and get ready for the expansion. I think that's what they were shooting for. Didn't really translate though. And I think what basically ended up happening instead was that people pop back in and were like, oh yeah, I like Starfield's kind of, I'm good. I think a lot of people just kind of mentally checked out. And after they went back for the rover, they were like, oh yeah, I don't really like Starfield. And then they uninstalled it again and they just didn't reinstall it. Because the most telling stat with all of this were the Steam numbers. And I know, but what about Xbox numbers? I get it. But I think when you compare one platform's performance today versus its performance a year ago, that does tell you something, okay? Because it's the same platform. Okay, as of today, they're down to 5,200 players, typically a peak around 7,500 players. That's on the weekend at least. During the week, it's around 5,100, it seems, is the average. But you can see if we rewind to October, right when the DLC launches, they hit 200 or 21,000. Let's round up and say 22,000 peak players on Monday, September 30th, when the expansion launched. Okay, 22. Now, the reason that's important is because if we rewind all the way back to launch, you can see the all-time peak was 330,000. This was during the early access, I believe, or was September 10th. That was after, I think, early access. Because it was, I think that's on the actual launch day. But even if we look during the early access period, which was like 250,000. The early access was only available to people that upgraded their version to like the deluxe whatever. So people that spent like $100 on Starfield on Steam. And they had 250,000 max players concurrent of those that paid the $100. The most ardent fans that were willing to spend almost the price of 2 games on this one release because they are such fans of Bethesda. Those people peaked on a Monday, September 4th, at 250,000 for the game's initial launch. But for the first expansion, all the way over here, they peaked at like 21,000. So they couldn't get even a tenth of the peak concurrent they got on another Monday, almost exactly a year before, for the launch of the base game. So there's, among the most diehard fans, they did not convert to the expansion. They fell off. They played the game in early access. They paid a lot of money to do it. And they just didn't come back. Which, this should be the most telling thing you've seen for anything relating to Starfield. And if we flip it to like Cyberpunk, I haven't looked this up yet, so I don't know if this is gonna affirm or break my point. But even this, like, you can see there's a very perceptible spike of 275,000 players during the launch of Phantom Liberty. Like, that's crazy. Huge bump. Not quite as crazy as the initial launch, you know, that had 1 million, but they brought back 25%, still 250,000. That's pretty wild. But still, like, expansions, it's about bringing those core players back, the hardcore players back. And they didn't quite achieve this in this case. But Microsoft gaming lead Phil Spencer reveals in an interview with GameFile, Howard was worried about the rover's earlier debut as part of a free update and was worried if it was a bad idea on his part or bad decision. Quote, Todd and I were talking about Starfield Shattered Space, states Spencer. Starfield is a game I put tons of hours into and I really love, but they've had this thing where they've added features throughout the year and then they had an expansion. He then delves into fan feedback on Bethesda's approach to Starfield's new content, as well as how it felt or how it left Howard questioning it himself. Quote, I think some of the feedback on the expansion is we wanted more features. And he's like, well, should we have waited to put the buggies out? Bethesda's head figured keeping the vehicle for the TLC could have helped flesh it out more. I do agree it would have made the expansion feel
Have a nice
better.
evening. Always solid analysis for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ambaz. Appreciate you. Thank you for 3 months also. Wowza Canowza. So I do think that it's true. If they had saved rovers for the expansion, it would have made the expansion feel bigger and more content rich. But because the expansion doesn't do anything with the rovers, I think it would have felt really like just out of place. It would have felt like, oh, this was another DLC microtransaction that they were going to sell separately that they just included here to call it good. And I think that that's part of why they didn't do it, because I think they knew that it would feel out of place, because there's no like crazy quest lines that use the rover, race over here before this explodes. You got to race the rover and drive it all the way to the other side of the map. We got to get over there. We got to go crazy. They didn't do anything like that. Instead, they just kind of have the rover and you can drive it around the map if you want, but it doesn't really have anything to do with anything. Spencer continues. And so I think you're trying to tune both development effort and the impact of the expansion, but and I think there will always be a balance to managing the game month to month, but not every game will do expansions. True. But I think this is the thing for Bethesda, is among the fan base, it feels as though the priority is not retaining like core like your core diehard fan base or anything. The priority right now is basically to take the few players that are left and monetize the ever living hell out of them. And that's what it feels like. I mean, it really does feel like the priority now is selling $5, $6, $7 quest lines to the 5,000 people that are playing concurrently throughout the day, or 7,500 players over the weekend. Get them to buy those quests and just keep doing that for the next few years. And I'm not sure if there's anything like Shattered Space was just not that compelling of a concept or of a expansion at the outset. And I don't think it was ever going to blow us away. And I think that, you know, adding rovers wouldn't have magically fixed that, because one of the chief concerns and frustrations was that the expansion was more Starfield. It didn't really add anything new mechanically. Adding a rover, yeah, that's technically a new mechanic, but it doesn't tie into the expansion in any interesting way, other than like, ooh, you can get around theoretically faster by riding the rover to this quest objective and then, you know, doing that quest objective. But it doesn't, like, there's nothing handcrafted in there to totally change it or rework it. So I hope that there actually is some self-reflection going on. And what's interesting about this is that it suggests that Spencer and Todd are talking about and going back and forth on the feedback of the expansion. They're looking at it. They're hearing it. Whether they're like appreciating it and going, that's right, that's fair, that's fair. That's another separate question, because there's lots of guys who see feedback that's negative or critical, like, okay, well, that doesn't make sense. Nope, that's wrong. And they just tune it out. But if they're actually looking at the feedback and they're going, okay, well, if people said this, okay, well, how do we overcome that? How can we improve that? Okay, let's try this next time. That's what I hope they're doing. And hearing that they're actually talking about it increases my hopes that that's what's actually happening. But all of Todd's public interviews and public statements do not sound like that. All the stuff he says in interviews and he says to like journalists when he talks to them is, oh, it's the best game we've ever made. It's the biggest game we've ever made. Some people loved it. Some people liked it less or loved it less, but still probably liked it a bit, you know. And I think that doesn't help anything. And people will be like, Luke, why a year later are you still talking about Starfield? Again, at its core, for one, it's because it's funny. But two, it's because like I am still a Bethesda Game Studios fan. I love their worlds. I love their IP. I love what they can do when they're doing it well. The problem is that they've not done a good job for a while. And I don't think coddling them or tapping Todd on the head and be like, you did your best, I don't think that helps. But I want to see them back at the top of their game. I want to see them coming out swinging, doing amazing work again, making Game of the Year contenders again. But the more they stick their head in the ground, the worse these games get. And I think there's some patterns in terms of approach, in terms of who they're having work on certain elements of the games. I'll just say that, where the more those people work on them, the worse they seem to get, because there does seem to be a company culture problem where critiques and criticism are hand waved away, where there's this acknowledgement that like, okay, maybe that's your feedback, but this is how we've always done it. And so they're just going to keep doing it that way, even when that's not the best solution. And I think it's too bad, because there is talent at BGS, but as the years have gone by, more and more people have left. More and more people have moved on. Some of their most senior designers have left. Like, for example, look at this. William Shen. You might recognize him from the videos of the creation of Starfield. He was in a lot of the marketing materials. And the interviews and the design stuff where it's like how we design quests, how we do this. And he left. There's a lot of people who share his story who were working at BGS and have left to either go indie or work at another company because they didn't like it. And this particular talk is really, really interesting. I encourage you to listen to it, because they talk about the size of BGS, and one of their chief complaints was how like out of control the bureaucratic setup got. So let me see if I can find it. It was like too big. Maybe large. No scale. I want to see. It's in the transcript somewhere. That's the key. Full advantage. Too much for one person. Maybe this? Is this the part?
And large quest that also our large location and large quest that was taken on by a solo level designer, D. Langlois, ended up being too much for one person to take on the way we had scoped it. We had kind of done what we had done on previous projects when a level designer took on, a location and a quest, or just a lot from another silo like quest design, and just buffer some more time. And this time we did it again and just buffered more time. And we realized we actually needed to properly scope these, get buy-in from both quest and level production to actually get these completed properly. This ended up requiring us to have D focus on the quest elements to get those finished up, while we brought in outside level designer help to finish up the location elements. The end results of Far Harbor after we had shipped were that Will and I got to work together and lead a project, which was really awesome. The criticism on Far Harbor was mostly positive, which was really satisfying.
Yeah, Far Harbor I thought was really good. Let Let me see if I can find it this way, because there's a specific part where they're talking about how basically it got too big. And it's really, really interesting. Let's see. Quest large. Yeah, I think this is it.
How do we work with this incredibly large team? So let's talk.
Basically, what he's going to say is like the team got too big.
Talk about Starfield. So by the time we ship Starfield, we have grown even more, probably by about the same amount from Fallout 4 to Fallout 76, as you can see here. Well over 500 people, but also we are now working with a large number of external groups, well over a dozen. And these groups are doing everything from effects, lighting, they're working on tools programming, systems programming, pretty much everything. And they have to all be integrated into the development team for the work they are doing. And another part of this is these are external groups, each with their own culture, each with their own leadership, and they are being brought in at various times throughout production, sometimes early on, sometimes to finish it. So life becomes a lot.
Dude, like, so crazy. This is really fascinating because this Jira thing, if you look at any job listings in the games industry, you'll hear them mention this app because it's used to like manage projects and stuff. They'll talk about it, but it's really interesting. But this is the most fascinating stat or chart in all of discussions around BGS. And Jacob, make sure when you clip this that you include like all of this with this article on the DLC and everything, because I think we can talk about all this. It all ties together. Skyrim, a massive game. It's made by this many people. No outsourcing, as far as they have noted. Like, none of that. It seems like a lot of the disconnections between the game design of Bethesda's games starts to happen as they bring more and more people in to collaborate. You guys remember a video I made? You have to be real OG to remember this. I made a video where I was like, my Fallout 76 conspiracy theory. And in that video, it was after the debacle of Fallout 76. It's probably 2019 or something. And I made a video where I said, I think I know the reason why Fallout 76 exists. Why would Todd all of a sudden agree to do a really crappy MMO to make ZeniMax happy just so that they can get a bigger price when they sell the game or sell the studios and sell the company? I said, I think the reason they're doing this is because because Todd wanted to expand BGS because he wanted to make Starfield bigger and badder and crazier. But he knew he couldn't make Starfield with the team that did Fallout 4. So he agreed to do Fallout 76 so long as he could hire enough people to basically double the size of the team. And he got approval from Robert Altman, rest in peace, to do that. Fallout 76 launches, and then he gets to hire even more people on top and add more collaborators through Xbox and through ZeniMax and everything to make Starfield. So I think like Fallout 76 existed pretty much exclusively to be the stepping stone between Fallout 4 and Starfield because of what Todd wanted to do for Starfield. But this is just so fascinating because Skyrim, very cohesive game, very cohesive vision. No matter where you look in the game, everything feels Starfield, everything feels very Skyrim. Everything feels appropriate for that game. Everything works together super well. It's very fluid. All the systems work really well together. It's awesome. Fallout 4, same is true pretty much across the board. Most people's complaint was like writing quality and role-playing quality just was not really there. Fallout 76, it's a disaster across the board at launch. Not much to say. But Starfield, it started to feel like the game was made by a bunch of different people who didn't know what the others were doing, where they have these cool like anti-gravity systems that are almost never used in any quests outside the main story. It's really weird, but it's probably because, you know, the people that were working on that were over, you know, in this tranche, and the people making those quest lines were up here in this tranche, or were working at one of these other studios helping with it. So there was no clear collaboration. And you hear what like Emil Pagliarulo says, where he's like, yeah, we used to have design docs that we would update constantly. And eventually we just stopped updating it because it was too much work because the game was constantly changing. And the other design philosophy, going back to what we were saying, where like BGS often hand wave stuff away by saying it's, it's just how we've always done it. Do you guys know? I'm going to see if you know in chat. What is the old saying that Todd has echoed for at this point in decades about Bethesda Game Studios titles? What is their design philosophy in a tight slogan? Do you remember what he says? Do you remember the good old saying? It's okay to miss stuff. Now, that's a different thing he said. Say yes to the player. That is a good one. That's fair. That's not the one I'm thinking of, though. There's another one. 16 times detail? No. It just works? No, that's a meme. Exactly. WoW. WoW, I think, is the first one that got it. Well done, WoW. Great games are played, not made. That's what he says. Get out of my office. Okay, that one's funny too. Get out. Yeah. So what he said historically is great games are you said paid, but the technical term is are played, not made. But you knew it enough to make a joke out of it, so I'll give it to you still. Exactly what I said for sure. Yeah. I think you knew it well enough to make a joke out of it, which is almost more impressive than if you just said it word for word. So I'll give you that. But that was true. And you could make a game like that back here when the team was small enough that Ted in questing could play the game and be like, honestly, I think it'd be more fun if there were like a big spider boss at the end of this dungeon. So he goes over to Fred in the combat team that's 15 people and says, hey, can you add a gigantic spider? It's like, yeah, bet, I got you. And then they go in there, they add it, and then they're like, oh, but we need sound effects for it. Let me go over to the audio team that's just down the hall, and I'll talk to Janice, and we'll do that real quick. And they can do all this super quickly. They're playing it, they're experiencing it, then they're making quick changes on the fly, and it's very dynamic. That can work when the team's small. When the team balloons to this size, I don't think that works anymore. Because the other piece to remember with this is that this is not the same as Skyrim's team, specifically in the sense that, like, these are different studios. Like, this is probably the Maryland team, this chunk, and then this chunk is maybe BGS Dallas, and then this chunk is the other teams that are working in Montreal and Austin. So all these different teams, 1, 2, 3, if you need help from somebody at team 3, you have to send an email or a message on Microsoft Teams, or you have to schedule a Zoom call or this or that. It doesn't really work to just impulsively make changes because you thought of something cool you could change and shift based on what you were playing and how you were doing it. You need to have clear design documentation. You need to have very clear guidance. You need to have all of that stuff. And that's just something that Bethesda didn't establish before they grew to the crazy size that they got. But hear what else they have to say about it.
Finish it. So life becomes a lot more focused on our task tracking software. We were using Jira at the time. Jira definitely became a way of life as we tried to reconcile and handle all of the work being done across so many people. And the process we ended up settling on was one that was departmental focused. So we had all of the approvals handled by a departmental lead who also had a departmental producer. So for example, quest design, there was a lead quest designer. I was the lead quest designer for Starfield. I had a design producer specific to quest, and we would go through all of the requests and proposals, approve them, and then send that up to a member of senior leadership who would also approve them.
What? What's the point of having the head of questing approve something if it then has to go to another level of approval? Like, remember when we were talking about the bureaucratic nonsense that ate up so much time and screwed over the development because it got so inefficient. Like, this is what happens. And it also is what happens when you have people that are not willing to like totally let go and trust lower levels of leadership. Again, with a team this size, it's okay when you're making Skyrim if you want to go talk to Emil and Todd, because they are one of 120 people. So they can probably manage that. Over here, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. And there were stories, you know, a year ago, 2 years ago, about the development of Starfield, even before it had come out, where there were stories of like, Todd is not as available as we need him to be. There's times where we have to like wait for him to approve something before we can move on because he wants to see it and approve it. Or maybe it's not even Todd requiring that. It might be that like one of the mid-level managers or supervisors wants to get Todd's approval on it because they're not really sure if this is a good fit for it. So they then wait to approve it until they get approval from Todd. And it's just layers and layers of bureaucracy that slows things down. And when you're a team that's been built and still has the philosophies of a small, agile team, it doesn't really work to blow up to this size, because as you're hearing, there's multiple layers of approval. This is the most crazy thing, is that he could approve something. His second in command producer could approve something, and they still had to wait to go to approve it from the guy above him. Like, that's so stupid.
Another thing we had to do was also start reconciling the schedule across all areas of production. So every request now needed to go through all the producers because we needed to check all of the contingent work. Asking for something as simple as a chair wasn't so simple. Do you need animations for it? Do you need sound effects for it? How much does that add to the schedule? Can it not fit because one of those teams does not have the time? That all had to be wrangled, and so that became a way of life for many people.
His example, something as simple as adding a chair, like a unique chair to the game, might not get approved because some team over there doesn't have time to do it. Like, is it starting to make sense why you could work for so many years and get so little, or why they could spend a year on Shattered Space and it's so lackluster? It's because of this. It's because of this mismanagement and inefficiency.
And then finally, because there's so much work going on, we needed to make sure that there was accountability for all of that work. And so we needed to create a system where all of the departmental leads were the ones providing the feedback for all the work done, and also verifying that the work was completed and saying, yes, it's finished now. So this had an inadvertent consequence of favoring the department over the actual project and what the project needed. And this makes a lot of sense because when you are first asked to be a department lead, you're worried about the department. That is the thing you're told you're responsible for. Suddenly you have to reconcile several people's schedules. You're responsible for them. You're responsible for their time and their output. And when your schedule is getting squeezed, you want to defend it and make sure your team has the time they need and is hitting things at the quality that it needs. But this can also lead to a siloing effect where every department is scrambling for their resources and saying no to collaboration requests. So before we had the problem of, hey, when we're doing these big collaborations, there's a lot of found work that we aren't scheduling properly. Now it is scheduled properly because now we know we don't have time for it. So another consequence of this was, as we move forward, was documentation became a way of life and became absolutely critical.
I imagine, yeah. This is why it's so bizarre when Emil's like, yeah, as a director on this stuff, I'm not too worried about it. It's like, you should be.
We used to be able to just sit down someone new to the team with someone who had already been on the project, and they would just learn all of the things they needed to know, as kind of almost through osmosis. But now we had to rely on all of our documentation tools. So for example, we had a shared documentation tool with Confluence. We were also using Slack. We had to make sure and enforce putting communication in the major Slack groups, not only so that it could be asynchronous, but also so that everyone could see it, because we needed to make sure there were no like hallway conversations that was hiding work that was being requested. And finally, we had to do a lot more tutorials. So I was in OBS Studio a lot making video tutorials. So in Fallout 4, when I needed to teach someone the tool set, I would just sit down with them and answer their questions. But now we were working with people from around the nation, sometimes around the globe. I often didn't know when they would need me, and I often didn't know who might need me or what they would need to know. So it became absolutely critical to do a lot more tutorials and how-tos about every feature of the toolkit.
And they're really going to say that the creation engine is a better suit for them and more efficient and helps them work faster than like moving to Unreal or something. Like at Unreal, if you're using Unreal has already made all of those tutorials. They've already done it. Like if there's proprietary stuff, obviously you got to make tools for that and like tutorials and teach people how to use that. But the core systems of the engine are very well outlined. Like that's one of the main benefits of it. And I cannot stress enough just how insane it is, how unreal it is to have your head of quests, like the main guy in charge of all the quests, spending his time making tutorials to teach people how to do stuff in your engine. That's insane. Talk about a waste of time. Like, what are we doing? Yeah, at this point, even Unreal is not helpful. I mean, at this point, the level of nonsense and bloat and administrative nonsense that's going on is honestly amazing. It's really impressive.
Another interesting consequence, by the way, this is not a real Slack profile. I grabbed this from like Slack's website, so no secrets here. But this is an example of a phenomenon that happened where not everyone knows you or has a relationship with you, especially if they're from one of those outside groups who's coming in to help at the end. So your title became incredibly important. There are many people I met because they messaged me because they saw my title and they were assigned to work on something maybe that day and didn't know who to speak to, so they came to me assuming, oh, you must know something about this because you have lead in your title and it's somewhat adjacent to what I think you're working on. And so you might meet someone that day who you had never met before, and you're working together simply by recognition of title instead of a previous relationship or knowing each other from working on the project. So what is level and quest?
Like, again, this whole talk is so fascinating because it really does feel like they're just spilling all the tea, you know, out of nowhere. And this is only like 6 months after Starfield. They left right as the game shipped. Probably once they got whatever bonuses, they just bailed. And I don't blame them. Because this sounds like it would be infuriating to try and work here and get anything done. Like, it's almost impressive because if you're trying to think, how could we design a studio to be really inefficient? You would probably end up making something that looks almost exactly like this. Like I'm honestly struggling to come up with something I could do that would be even less efficient. Where they're like, okay, we're gonna have executives, or not executives, but we're gonna have like senior leadership providing OBS tutorials on how to use the basic toolkit. That seems like it should be something one of his underlings is doing, but okay, yeah, have the lead senior guys doing basic tutorials. Okay. And then we're also going to have it so everything needs to seek approvals and be written off by the people in like above them. Okay, that makes sense. And then we're also going to go and require people that are approving stuff to get approval from the people above them before it's actually approved. Okay, that doesn't make a lot of sense. And then we're going to assign people to do stuff. And they're going to go and have no idea what they need to do. So they're going to go through the Slack channels and find various employees at the company that have titles that are relating to whatever you've been assigned to that day. And then you're going to go and start messaging somebody, asking them, what am I supposed to be doing right now? So now, once again, one of the senior members of the team has to waste time replying to random people across the company that don't know what they're supposed to be doing because it's so unclear. And then, like, anytime you want to do something, you have to then talk to 5-6 different departments who are all doing their own thing, have their own schedules, all because of this. Like, again, it starts to make a lot of sense why the inefficiencies creep up. And the polar opposite of this, maybe we do like a full video on this at some point, where the way that CDPR did it is that they had their different strike teams. So they used to work the way BGS just set it up, where they have like all these different departments, right? And all these different departments are doing their own little thing, and they might be the art team, might be the coding team, programmers, it might be the combat team, it might be the executive producers and designers. And anytime you want to do anything, you have to talk to this guy, who has to talk to this guy, who has to talk to this guy, talk to this guy, and then this guy, and then this guy, and then over here, talk to this person, get final approval from this person. But if anything ever goes wrong, you have to backtrack. Oh, they don't approve it. They want different sound. Okay, well, crap. We got to send it back to this guy. They redo the sound. And then it goes back to this guy, over here, back here. Hopefully gets final approval. Like, so much time ends up being wasted. If that looks like just spaghetti on a wall, that's basically the communication systems. It's really dumb. What they did instead at CDPR after the debacle that was Cyberpunk 2077, because, I mean, that was a disaster, for many of the same reasons as this, honestly, which is why this whole story is so fascinating, because it's two sides of the same coin, basically. A lot of the problems were born out of the same mismanagement. But what they did over at CDPR is they had all these different teams that I've conveniently color-coded, and they would have little strike teams that they developed. So this is the strike team down here, and they'd have these set up to work on various quests or to work on this area. We have this story beat in the game that we need to tackle. And instead of having all these different departments, they'd put one person from this team in. And then they put one person from this team in. And then they'd go and they'd put one person from this team in. And then they add somebody from that department into the strike team. So now they're getting a little bit of every team within these strike teams. So if you ever need approvals, if you ever need, hey, we need a sound effect made. Oh, we need an animation done for this. You don't have to go through layers of approvals from all these different teams talking to see, as he described, if it can work with them. You just go to Janice. Or you just go over, you talk to Ted. It's crazy. I need a special effect. I need like particle effects put in here. Before, you'd have to go send it out. All of the departments would have to approve it. It might take 3, 4, 5 days to finally find out whether this is approved. Instead, now you can just go talk to Timmy. Works way, way better. Way better. Not even close. And it's way more efficient. And that's where they've landed. I mean, this is the far superior option, without a doubt. And this is what they, I think, realized was, at least CDPR realized, was that this is how you do it. This is how you work efficiently. And frankly, Phantom Liberty is the prime example of why this works so much better than this. This works when you're 50 people, when you're 80 people. Does not work when you are a massive team. Strike teams, way more efficient. Way more efficient. So I think what's really clear is that if BGS wants to significantly improve and if they want to overcome this, they have to do major structural reworkings. I'm not sure if they ever do, but it's crazy how common this is. I think it's just what happens when teams slowly, over the course of like a decade, expand and expand and expand. And before they know it, the team has gotten huge, but they don't have systems in place to actually like manage it, to actually talk with each other and make improvements. And like it's grown too big. It's too big. But at that point, you're wrestling with a monster. And, you know, we've talked about the inefficiencies at BGS and why I think that that's responsible for a lot of the lacking quality recently. And I just hope they listen to the feedback. If Will Shen, if these guys that like were working there for years and years and years were senior quest designers and stuff, lead quest designers, if they left the company because of this stuff, or at least in part because of this stuff, hopefully, I would imagine they told them about this and this was a well-known thing within the studio. And hopefully Todd is like listening to it and is trying to reevaluate and rework it. Because that's how you make improvements. That's how you get better. Sticking your head in the dirt, pretending like everything is great, does not fix anything. So we'll see. We'll see if anything ever happens. I'm not too confident, but Todd, with his infinite wisdom, maybe will surprise us. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. The end. End of segment. Basit LMAO, I work in technology consultant, and this is exactly the corporate hellscape my job is like. Same report goes through 5 people, stuck at every stop. Yeah, no, it's why like executives like Elon are really, really like successful and are capable of managing multi-billion-dollar companies, like multiple multi-billion-dollar companies. The same executive that runs Tesla, which is a car manufacturer, which already is like a very difficult business to be in. He also manages Starlink, which launches satellites for global internet. That's incredibly complicated. He runs SpaceX, which literally is revolutionizing space exploration. Like, unbelievable. He's managing all these different things. And at some point, I know some people are like, well, it's just because like it's not that impressive. It's okay, you do it then. If it's not that impressive, you do it. You know, does he run it or does someone else run it? At the end of the day, he is the final decision maker, except at X. He's not the CEO of X anymore. But he has hired people and set up systems to run these businesses. And it demonstrably works, whether you love him or hate him. Like, they've set up systems. I've set up systems for the stuff we do. We're like the live channel. Jacob runs the live channel using systems that we made together and that we worked on. So like I technically am like the CEO of the live channel. Like I run it technically, but a lot of the work is done through Jacob through these systems. Same with Trevor cutting the shorts and the TikToks and stuff together. We use these systems that we've set up and it works really efficiently. And it I think, has been quite successful and continues to be. But it's about setting up efficient systems first and foremost. Like I cannot tell you how often we've told people how we do things and their minds are blown. Like I've talked to big YouTubers, like bigger YouTubers than me by a lot, 1 million, 2 million subs. And when I explain, yeah, Jacob and I, we use a tandem NAS system. So all my footage I record for reviews and stuff, we put on a server and then that server syncs across our systems. So anything he adds to the server is synced to mine and vice versa. And it has redundancy and it's backed up. So if one of ours loses a hard drive or goes out, it's still backed up and we're good. We can even back it up additionally to Dropbox or to Google Cloud, you know, with Google Drive. And their minds are blown. They're like, I just have been uploading everything to Google Drive. That sounds way more efficient. And it's like, yeah, it works way better. But people have just no idea because they just don't think about it. Like they really don't think about it. It's stupid, but people just do whatever they're used to doing. And the second that they have something introduced that's like novel or crazy or different, it blows their mind. But that's why the systems are so crucial. Tesla stock is a bubble that will burst sooner or later, in my opinion. I'm inclined to agree. Like the thing is, Tesla is not a car company at the end of the day. Like that's not how it's priced. Tesla is priced as an AI company and as a company that aims to make androids. That's where the real money is. Like most of the investors, most of the current valuation is because of the Optimus bot. Like if that ends up being a thing, then that obviously will make probably trillions over the course of like a decade, 2 decades. Whether or not that ever comes to fruition is a totally separate question, which is why it's maybe not the safest investment in my opinion. Because Elon can deliver on some things, but on other things he's very, I would say, unrealistic with timelines. Bitrate, Luke's team will grow and he will have similar issues one day. We can hope, right? Sandwich makers, short video editors, live department, hair and makeup, etc. If I ever get to the point where I have sandwich makers working for me, I will have officially made it. Like, we're hiring at the Luke Stevens operation. Oh, really? Who are you hiring? A team of sandwich makers. We need some sandwiches made. So here we go. Could you imagine if Zuckerberg was in Elon's shoes right now? I'll be your Lego duster. That actually, I think I would be more likely to have a Lego duster than a sandwich maker. Yeah, the Optimus bots at the last event were mostly fake, sadly. Yeah, they were operated by humans that were in like motion tracking, whatever. Still, like the fact that they were able to operate and pick things up and serve drinks and stuff, that's still impressive. But yeah, I didn't like how they implied that it was all running natively and it wasn't. Anyway. Dude, I got you. Catering lead from Panera right here. Dude, I've had multiple siblings who have worked at Panera. My older brother, older sister, and then one of my younger brothers all worked at Panera Bread. My brother was like a baker with them. He baked like all sorts of stuff. Would you support androids in a Detroit Become Human situation? Like, would I be marching in the streets with the androids? No, I don't think so. No. That one, Detroit Become Human, like they did a good job of like exploring the topic, but I think I'm more, until they can realistically demonstrate human emotions in a way that's like totally believable and in like you can't distinguish it from like human behavior of like emotion and reason. Until we get that to that point, I think it'd be more of the mind that it's like, it's a robot. I mean, it's a machine. It just seems to appear to be human or emotional or whatever. Once it gets to the point where like emotionally it actually is indistinguishable, where you can have conversations and like it actually is like that, and the only way you'd be able to tell if it's a robot is if you cut it open. Once we're at that point, then I'd be much more inclined to be like sympathetic to that perspective. But until we get to that point, I think I'm a not a firm believer in that. Yeah. What model of Lego Hogwarts is that? Just Google Lego Hogwarts Castle. It's the big one. I think they make this one, they make a really small one. It's like this tall. I've seen it at Scheels because they have it in their like toy section. But this is the bigger one. Yeah. Arc Surfer, androids don't deserve human rights. How dare you? How dare you? The gall. Wow. Just came out and said it. Wow. That's crazy, man. What a bigot. Unreal. Let's see. Ooh, we can talk about this real quick before we wrap. New segment for the masses. Hold on to your asses. It's Star Wars Outlaws. You ready? Joe Raptor has declared it. We've talked, I guess, okay, start of the segment. Focus. We've talked previously about the changes coming to Star Wars Outlaws, where they claim that they're going to totally like rework it, fix a lot of the big problems. And I think that's great if this is true. We'll read these changes that Joe Raptor describes here. But specifically, like for me, the big thing is the AI. If they can fix AI in stealth sequences, of which there's a lot, I think this becomes a solid recommend from me. Star Wars Outlaws' big problem was that it relies a lot on stealth, and the AI is so freaking stupid that it tears you out of any sense of immersion. It's like really distracting. Other than that, the game is solid. There's things I would tweak here and there, like facial animations are not great. The writings, you know, for some of the characters especially is like, but on the whole, I enjoyed my time with Star Wars Outlaws. I just think that there's some major things that needed to be fixed and that were pretty clearly rushed. But let's see what they're adding. Ability to hold on to enemy weapons when climbing, traversing the environment, and interacting with enemies and the world. Ooh, that's a win. Because it had that Uncharted 3 problem where you could pick up a rifle, but then you go up to a ladder, even if it's only like a foot tall, and she drops it every time to climb up. It's really stupid, but they fixed that. They've actually added the ability to hold it. Fun fact, it looks like that's also going to be a thing in Indiana Jones, that he can pick up weapons from the Nazis, but anytime he goes to like interact with something or grab a ledge or anything, he drops it. So it looks like this is going to be a problem in Indiana Jones too, and they're fixing it for Star Wars Outlaws. So props. They added a shoulder swap button. I forget who said that, but it was in an article from one of the previews. At least you have a whip. That's true. That's true. I can look for the source after this. Don't you worry. Because I have it bookmarked for a video I was working on. But okay. Anyway, they added a shoulder swap button. Animations and reliability of using cover should be improved. Tweaks have been made to make headshots more rewarding. That's good. I mean, better headshots is always good. There will be stat changes to weapon and enemy types to make them more distinct. I appreciate that because they did kind of all meld together. Enemies now have weak points as well, so you can more easily take them out with a precise shot. Okay. I like gameplay that rewards skill over just, you know, bigger stats or whatever. So I like that. New defeat animations and hit reactions have also been added. That's good. So it's no longer just like punch them on the head. There's more nuance to how enemies might react to getting taken out. Or hit with shots and stuff. Recoil, fire rate, ammo, and accuracy have been updated to improve weapon feel for every gun, including improved feedback for audio, VFX, and UI. Okay. The Ashiga ABR-2 Zato blaster rifle will get a new shooting pattern for more unique gameplay style. Not sure what that means, but okay. They will add more uses for Kay, her pistol with the power module to be able to destroy cover, and the ion module being able to stun enemies for longer and let them take more damage. Cool. Make them even more distinguishable. I like that. Geez, Twitter compression does a number on this. That's cool. That's cool. I like that. Honestly, these changes are solid. I'm not really hearing anything relating to AI. So that worries me. That worries me. Let's see if we can find the full dev update and see exactly what they say. Okay, I got it. Yeah, updated stats on all weapons, second weapon feel, utility of weapons, blast out of the ability power module. Okay, that one. Finds on the field, hold on them longer. New approach to how cover works. Camera will no longer try to predict which shoulder it should be on. It will now be comfortable and stable around cover. To facilitate this, we've added the ability to shoulder swap while aiming, giving you greater control and precision. Add to that a host of improvements to the animations and around and the reliability of cover. We hope this will let you focus on tactics and action rather than thinking about cover mechanics. That's awesome. All in all, we believe and hope that this update to weapons cover damage has created to be feedback when you get your hands on the huge update to the core combat systems in this update. We're bringing you many requested changes in the Title 1.4 update, which will be your biggest update. I need to know 1.4. What else is there? World premiere, dev update number 2, dev update number 1. They also talked in this update that they're adding a bunch of other stuff. Readability, tactics, and precision. Like they've said broadly, yeah, we're going to improve enemy behaviors and stuff, but they never say anything super specific about improved AI. So I mean, when this drops, I'm going to try it, obviously, because I want to see if they actually do fix it. Because if they fix the AI, then that's awesome. Should have been fixed at launch. But if they can actually fix it, better late than never. I'll give them that. But I mean, it needed a lot of work. So we'll see. They said they're fixing the AI in 1.4. Yeah, but they never offer, like, as far as I've seen at least. If you have a link, let me know. But I've never seen them get, like, specific with it. Where it's like, we've added the ability for enemies now to coordinate together. We've added this. We've done this. The perception of noise is improved. Like, haven't seen any of that. Haven't seen any of that. Yeah. Still a boring game? Props to you. Yeah. Play something else. Cool. I had fun. Just needs better AI. That's the biggest thing. It needs other stuff too, but the AI was the biggest thing. Yeah, Zaid 2010. I saw that. I think it actually comes tomorrow. The post I saw, the Twitter post I saw was like, starting tomorrow, you'll be able to download. Otherwise, I would download it now and try it. But I think it comes tomorrow, and then they're going to add the 60 FPS patch and all that. Yeah, they probably want to manage expectations. Yeah, which is solid. I mean, thank goodness they're managing expectations now. Again, probably should have at launch, but the lesson with a lot of this is that they needed to fix this before it launched. Imagine like if all these problems were fixed at launch, I think the reception would have been much more positive. But Ubisoft's one of those companies that has to learn the hard way every time, you know. Okay. I think we'll call it there. I've got to go check on the missus and my boys upstairs. They just got home, so I'm going to go check on them. Let me double check that I got all this. Jackson Cabrera, thank you for the 2. Do you think people will be less concerned about Elder Scrolls 6? No, I think people are very, very skeptical of Elder Scrolls 6 after Starfield. I think Starfield did a lot of damage to the company reputation. I think it burned a lot of people out. I just, that's what I've seen, at least. That's what I've seen. Yeah. But anyway, thank you guys. We'll be back rocking and rolling either tomorrow or Wednesday with another stream. I look forward to you guys and seeing you guys there. Much love. I'll see you very, very soon. Hugs and kisses. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. Bye-bye.
Shout out to the chess club.